Andiyan ka. Okay, sige na. Anong oras na? 4 o'clock, sir. Sige na. Wala kayo majority leader natin eh.
Sir, nandiyan na po si Sir Chairman.
Sana si Bondok. Si Sherwin. This session is called to order. Please rise for the singing of the national anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka masisingil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong baghaw, may nilang ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagdidigdig. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may magdidilig. Lupa ng araw ng waraming pagsikta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga ating ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please remain standing for a minute of prayer. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we defer the calling of the roll. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
there is a motion to defer the calling of the roll. The chair, hearing no objection, the motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, I ask for a few minutes suspension. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Session suspended.
bago tayo, suspension. Kulang, maghintay tayo hanggang gusto mo. Pero masamang bisyo dyan yun. Raul, ikaw ang dekano ko, huwag mo kong turuan ng mali. Ikaw ang nagturo sa akin ng tama. Tama yung pag-check. Nag-object talaga ako. Maghintay tayo. Ari. Anong topic? Okay. Ganda. Ito nagturo sa akin na tamang asal sa Kongreso. Ngayon, tinuturuan ako ng mali.
Session resumed.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we approve the journals number 2 and 3 of July 26 and 27. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? The chair, hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move for a reference of business. Could the Secretary General be directed to read the title of bills and resolutions on first reading, as well as committee reports and communications? So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
There is a motion that we proceed with the reference of business, and there being no objection, the Secretary General is hereby directed to read the title of the bills, resolutions, and messages for appropriate reference to the appropriate committees.
Reference of business, bills on first reading, House Bill 1001, prohibiting the detention of bodies in funeral homes, Representative Campos.
To the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1002, excluding night shift differential pay from the computation of taxable income, Representative Campos.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1003, expanding the purposes and application of special education funds, Representative Campos.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1004, providing incentives for the manufacture, assembly, conversion, and importation of electric, hybrid, and other alternative fuel vehicles, at Campos.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1005, amending Section 222 of Republic Act 8424, Sub Campos.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1006, regulating the education and licensure of physicians, Sub Campos.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1007, increasing the honorarium and Christmas bonus of barangay officials, Sub Zarate.
to the Committee on Revisions of Laws,
House Bill 1008, decriminalizing libel, Sub Zarate.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1009, classifying the sale of electricity by generation, transmission, and distribution companies, Sub Zarate.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1010, classifying services rendered by tollway operators as bus exempt, Sub Zarate.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1011, establishing a tertiary provincial hospital in the province of Sarangani, Representative Pacquiao.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1012, creating Sitio Ladol, San Pacquiao.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1013, creating the municipality of Malandag in the province of Sarangani, Representative Pacquiao.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill numbers 1014 and 1015, declaring Kapangyan Falls and Gangob Cave in Batara, Palawan as tourist destinations sa Babueg.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1016, creating Panakan 2 into regular barangays sa Babueg.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1017, amending Presidential Decree 1146 sa Batawil.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1018, institutionalizing the use of baybayin sa Batawil.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1019, amending Republic Act 10086 at Batawil.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1020, providing for the establishment of Lingayen Gulf Marine Ecotourism Parks at Batawil.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1021, providing for the construction of libingan ng mga bayani sa Batawil.
to the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Welfare,
House Bill 1022, declaring baybayin as national writing system sa Batawil.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1023, providing for the Magna Carta for local civil registry personnel representing Batawil.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1024, establishing a campus of the Philippine Merchant Marine Academy in Mindanao, sa Manalo.
to the Committee on Higher Education, Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1025, modernizing the public land transportation industry, sa Manalo.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1026, amending Section 99 of Republic Act 8424, Representative Manalo.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1027, amending certain provisions of Republic Act 7471, Representative Manalo.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1028, establishing an educational scholarship program for immediate dependents of OFWs at Manalo.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1029, establishing the scope and procedure for Philippine Ship Registries at Representative Manalo.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1030, regulating the work schedule and other terms of engagement governing cinema, radio, TV, theater, and other media personnel, Representative Matt Castelo.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1031, increasing the basic salary of public school teachers to 30,000, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Appropriation,
House Bill 1032, institutionalizing a single ticketing system in Metropolitan Manila, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Metro Manila Development,
House Bill 1033, creating the National Textbook Review Board, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1034, proscribing discrimination against members of the LGBT community, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 1035, prohibiting the use of videoke, karaoke systems, and other sound amplifying equipment that cause unnecessary disturbance, Representative Angelina.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1036, mandating a 2,000 across-the-board increase in the monthly pension with Representative Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1037, establishing the Philippine Rain-Fed Agriculture Institute, Representative Angelina Tan.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1038, proclaiming the rights and obligations of patients, Representative Herrera D.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1039, protecting, promoting, and supporting breastfeeding practice, Representative Herrera D.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1040, promoting mental health, Representative Salo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1041, providing for the mandatory appointment of a municipal veteran officer, Representatives Casilaw, Zarate, and several others.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1042, declaring January 20th of every year a special non-working holiday to be known as National Farmers' Day, Representatives Casilaw, Zarate, and several others.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1043, strengthening sustainable agriculture and enhancing support for all small organic farmers, Representatives Casilaw, Zarate, Brosas, and several others.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1044, strengthening compliance with occupational safety and health standards of De Jesus and Brosas.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1045, prohibiting labor-only contracting, Representatives De Jesus and Brosas.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1046, increasing the maternity leave period to 220 days, Representatives De Jesus and Brosas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 1047, prohibiting age discrimination, Representatives De Jesus and Brosas.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1048, repealing letter D of Article 132, Presidential Decree 442, Representatives De Jesus and Brosas.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1047, requiring all employers to institute sitting breaks, Representatives De Jesus and Brosas.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1050, requiring licensed professionals to plant a tree or render community service, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1051, requiring certain commercial establishments to install and maintain CCTVs, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1050, providing for the summary titling of all lands, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1053, granting 50% government subsidy in irrigation fees, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1054, increasing the share of LGUs in national internal revenue taxes, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1055, strengthening the right of citizens to information, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1056, revoking certain powers granted to the Executive Department, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Appropriation,
House Bill 1057, providing for a Magna Carta for kindergarten teachers, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1058, establishing the Diversion Elementary School, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1059, reducing the height requirement for members or officers of the PNP, BFP, and BJMP, Representative Antonino.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bills 1060 and 1061, providing for the establishment of TESTA Information Technology Training and Accreditation Centers, ESPINA.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1062, amending Title I, Chapter 3 of Executive Order 209, Representative Barbers.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1063, declaring the Porta Vega Beach as the Porta Vega Ecotourism Council sa Blanete.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1064, declaring the Kalanay Falls and its premises as an ecotourism site, Representative Telenete.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1065, declaring Manok-Manok Island in Esperanza, Masbate an ecotourism site, Representative Telenete.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1066, declaring the island of Balangingi in POB Cruz, Masbate and ecotourism site at Lanete.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1067, providing book subsidy, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1068, advancing the understanding of personal finance, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1069, advancing the personal understanding of environment, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1070, advancing the personal understanding on health, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1071, granting additional benefits and privileges to senior citizens, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers and Affairs,
House Bill 1072, mandating every Filipino worker bound for deployment to undergo financial and entrepreneurial seminars, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries,
House Bill 1073, mandating the banks to notify ATM owners, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Banks and Financial Intermediaries,
House Bill numbers 1074 to 1076, 1112, 1158, 1162, 1191, 1192, 1206, 1207, 1209, 1210, 1242 to 1245, 1342, 1365, and 1424, converting various roads at Blanete, Baguila, and several others.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1077, establishing the Placer National Science High School, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill numbers 1078, 1079, 1095, 1111, 1113, 1214, 1229, 1246, 1328, 1329, 1331, 1332, 1332, 1362, 1380, 1381, and 1383 to 1385, establishing, separating, converting schools, Representative Lanete, Cosalan, Bagilat, and several others.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 1080, integrating the Dr. Emilio B. Espinosa Senior Memorial State College of Lanete.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1081, establishing the Placer Airport sa Lanete.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1082, reforesting 3,000 hectares of public land in Placer, Kawayan, Esperanza, PUB Cruz, Kataingan, Dimasalang, Palanas, and Uson in Masbate, Lanete.
To the Special Committee on Reforestation.
House Bill number 1083, providing for an increase in the salary of military personnel, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1084, mandating the DOH to provide at least one health worker in every barangay, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 1085, creating a dental unit every rural health unit, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1086, reverting to the national government the discharge of basic health services of Lanete.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1087, granting additional insurance benefits to all public school teachers of Lanete.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 1088, establishing a competitive grant program, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 1089, providing free primary, secondary, and tertiary education courses of Lanete.
To the Committee on Higher Education, Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1090, declaring the island of Nagarao and its surrounding islands as ecotourism zone, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 1091, providing free information and communications technology courses, Representative Lanete.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1092, declaring the municipality of Placer as a festival capital of Bicolandia, Lanete.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 1093, establishing the Kabayan State Polytechnic College of Cosalan.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1094, amending Section 482A, Article 12 of Republic Act 7160, Representative Cosalan.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1096, providing for the construction of concrete barangay roads, Representative Cosalan.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1097, increasing the pension of teachers, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 1098, institutionalizing the conditional cash transfer program, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 1099, mandating dangerous drug courts to strictly enforce the provisions of Republic Act 9165, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Dangerous Drugs.
House Bill 1100, imposing higher fine or penalty against telecommunication companies involved in misleading or deceptive trade, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 1101, establishing the Volunteer Responders Incentives Protection Program, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Social Services.
House Bill 1102, creating the Office of National Food Security, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Special Committee on Food Security.
House Bill 1103, creating the MRT Regulatory Authority, Representative Castelo.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization and the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1104, protecting, conserving, utilizing, developing, and sustainably managing forest resources, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 1105, ordaining the promotion of social enterprises, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 1106, strengthening the Philippine Comprehensive Policy on HIV and AIDS Prevention, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1107, adopting the Ifugao Rice Terraces Rehabilitation and Preservation Plan, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 1108, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 1109 and 1110, creating additional barangays in Ifugao Province, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1114, reinstitutionalizing the mandatory military and civic ROTC, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1115, providing for the organization and modernization of the PNP, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1116, adopting an omnibus compensation and position classification of civilian personnel and the base pay schedule of military uniform personnel, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1117, providing for the establishment of the archipelagic sea lanes, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 1118, defining the maritime zones, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 1119, increasing the quarters allowance of officers and enlisted personnel, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1120, increasing the quarters allowance of commissioned officers and non-commissioned officers, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 1121, strengthening the right of citizens to information held by the government, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 1122, providing for a Magna Carta of the Poor, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 1123, regulating the practice of criminology, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 1124, promoting government agency performance excellence, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 1125, providing for the security of tenure of all casual and contractual employees of the government, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1126, providing for a 20-year barangay development program, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Poverty Alleviation.
House Bill 1127, creating the National Livelihood Development Council, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Welfare.
House Bill 1128, providing for the payment of arrears and the veterans' pensions, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 1129, integrating all the national, provincial, sub-provincial, city, and municipal jails, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1130, renumbering all existing district engineering offices, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1131, providing for the additional insurance coverage and benefits for all members of the AFP, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1132, granting disaster service volunteers paid leave, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1133, defining private armies and other armed groups, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1134, increasing the special group term insurance coverage for members of the AFP, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security and the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1135, requiring all provinces and highly urbanized cities to establish a science high school, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1136, granting night shift differential pay to government employees, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1137, amending pertinent laws on the retirement benefits and pension of the uniformed personnel of the uniformed services, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1138, declaring the petroleum industry to be affected with public interest, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1139, restoring the Philippine Coast Guard of its authority and responsibility, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1140, requiring the concurrence of the Senate of the Philippines in any international agreement, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 1141, establishing Veterans Memorial Medical Centers, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1142, amending Section 4B of Republic Act 7898, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1143, amending Section 53 of Republic Act 9184, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Appropriation.
House Bill 1144, prohibiting casual or regular employees of LGUs from performing office functions, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 1145, providing for the modernization of the NAMRIA, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 1146, regulating the use of firecrackers, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1147, amending Section 8 of Presidential Decree 910, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1148, establishing the Militaris Transition System, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1149, including responsive, empowered, and the service-centered youth, represented by Alejano.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1150, imposing reciprocity as a requirement before allowing foreign nationals to practice their professions in the Philippines, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1151, amending Section 450 of Republic Act 7160, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1152, prescribing urgent measures necessary and proper to effectively address the electric power crisis, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1153, establishing the National Labor Relations Commission Development Fund, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1154, requiring all graduating elementary, high school, and college students to plant at least 10 trees, Representative Alejano.
to the Special Committee on Reforestation,
House Bill 1155, authorizing government hospitals under the DOH to retain and utilize all their income, Representative Alejano.
to the Special Committee on Reforestation,
House Bill 1156, expanding the Center for International Relations and Strategic Studies, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Economic Affairs,
House Bill 1157, requiring all franchise grantees using wires and cables within the Philippines to place their wire and cable connections under the ground, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Energy and the Committee on Information and Communication Technology,
House Bill 1159, ensuring the fundamental equality of men and women, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 1160, establishing the Northern Bukidnon State College, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on Higher Education and Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1161, promoting the availability of healthy beverages, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1163, recognizing and strengthening alternative care of children, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on Welfare of Children,
House Bill 1164, declaring the third Friday of October every year as a special non-working holiday in Baungon, Bukidnon, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on the Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1165, providing benefits to barangay volunteer workers, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1166, institutionalizing industry cluster-based programs and projects, Representative Acosta Alba.
to the Committee on People's Participation,
House Bill 1167, mandating the integration of professions, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1168, shifting the academic calendar from June to August, Representative Olivares.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1169, mandating all tollway operators to implement toll-free holidays, Representative Olivares.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1170, mandating all tollway operators to use Unified Electronic Toll Collection Access Device, Representative Olivares.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1171, providing for sustainable forest management, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1172, addressing the system of prostitution, Representative Alejano.
to the Committee on
Cayetano.
Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1173, instituting reforms in land administration system, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1174, increasing the maximum value of the family home exempt from execution, forced sale, or attachment, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on the Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1175, amending Executive Order 209, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on the Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1176, requiring the issuance of employment certification in favor of resigned, dismissed, or separated employees, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1177, amending Republic Act 8492, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1178, amending Section 17 and 24, Republic Act 10086, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1179, mandating the appointment of one midwife for each barangay, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1180, declaring every third week of November of every year as National Consciousness Week, Representative Cayetano.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1181, providing for additional support and compensation for educators in basic education, Representative Cayetano.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1182, providing for pension and health benefits to comfort women, Representative Cayetano.
To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 1183, decriminalizing libel, Representative Cayetano.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1184, transferring the Provincial Agrarian Reform Office, Representative Dimaporo.
To the Committee on Agrarian Reform.
House Bill 1185, requiring supermarkets, meat shops in public and private markets, metropolitan and urban areas.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 1186, declaring July 4th every year special and working holiday in the Lanao del Norte, Representative Dimaporo.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1187, establishing the Lanao del Norte State College in Tubod, Lanao del Norte, Representative Dimaporo.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1188, reconstituting the Lanao del Norte Engineering District offices in Lanao del Norte into the regular engineering offices, Representative Dimaporo.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1189, implementing the Mindanao River Basin Rehabilitation and Development Program, Representative Sakdalan.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization.
House Bill 1190, defining the crime of firearms smuggling, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 1193, regulating the sale of prepaid SIM cards, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Information and Communication Technology.
House Bill 1194, imposing steeper penalties for falsification of certificates of land title, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 1195, instituting a comprehensive student loan program, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1196, making the appointment of an Environment and Natural Resources Officer mandatory, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1197, revoking the irrigation service fees imposed on farmers by the NIA, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 1198, providing for home mortgage interest relief, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 1199, modernizing the Philippine Coast Guard, Representative Sarmiento and Madrona.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1200, establishing lighthouse and rural coastal areas, Representative Sarmiento.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1201, declaring the Puraran Beach and its premises located in Puraran, Baras, Catanduanes as tourist spot, Representative Sarmiento Cesar.
To the Committee on Tourism.
House Bill 1202, amending Section 1B of Presidential Decree 1894, Representative Sarmiento Cesar.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1203, promoting sustainable transportation systems, Representative Sarmiento Cesar.
To the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1204, strengthening the Balik Scientist Program, Representative Yu.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Bill 1205, upgrading the position of Provincial Science and Technology Officer, Representative Yu.
To the Committee on Science and Technology.
House Bill 1209, prohibiting end-of-contract practices, Representative Sarate.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 1211, establishing the Pagadian City Science High School, Representative Yu.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1212, regulating the practice of mining engineering, Representative Yu.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 1213, providing for the protection, rehabilitation, and sustainable management of forest ecosystem, Representative Yu.
To the Committee on Natural Resources.
House Bill 1215, regulating the business operation of motorcycles for hire, Representative Acharon.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1216, creating the General Santos International Airport, Representative Acharon.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization and the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1217, creating 4 additional branches of the MTC, Representative Acharon.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 1218, converting the municipality of Polomolok in the province of South Cotabato into a component city, Representative Acharon.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1219, reapportioning the Lone Legislative District and the Sangguniang Panglusod of the city of Iloilo, Representative Treñas.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1220, institutionalizing energy efficiency, Representative Umali.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1221, establishing the regulatory framework for the safe operation of the LPG industry, Representative Umali.
To the Committee on Energy and the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 1222, declaring power infrastructure projects, Representative Umali.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1223, prohibiting the planting of plants and trees, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1224, regulating the planting of high-growing species of plants and prohibiting the construction of any structure, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1225, increasing the bed capacity of the Roas District Hospital, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1226, instituting cyber education, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1227, imposing a mandatory ad valorem tax, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1228, mandating all private colleges and universities to grant scholarships, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1230, upgrading the minimum salary grade of public school teachers, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1231, increasing the bed capacity of Bulalakaw Community Hospital, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1232, providing for the welfare of Barangay Tanod, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1233, seeking to declare Verde Island Passage, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1234, creating 4 additional MTC courts, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1235, amending Section 24, Republic Act 6770, Representative Umali.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1236 and 1237, converting certain sitios in Pampanga into new barangays, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1238, establishing a productivity improvement program, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1239, defining and penalizing the crimes of looting, stealing from, and desecrating the victims during and in aftermath of natural man-made calamities, Macapagal Arroyo.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1240, giving juridical personality to the present Veterans Memorial Medical Center, Macapagal Arroyo.
to the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Welfare,
House Bill 1241, constituting a constitutional convention, Representative Villapuerte.
to the Committee on Constitutional Amendments,
House Bill 1247, upgrading a 10-bed lying-in into 20 beds in the municipality of Rizal, Abueg.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1248, rationalizing the fees and charges of firearms of Suarez.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1249, mandating the inclusion of a subject on proper road use, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1250, providing for bicycle riders' rights, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1251, implementing the right of the people to information on matters of public concern, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1252 is instituting a national land use policy, Representative Biason.
to the Special Committee on Land Use,
House Bill 1253, amending Republic Act 10863, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1254, providing for the establishment of the archipelagic sea lanes, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill 1255, providing for the national defense and security of the Republic of the Philippines, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1256, amending the Administration Code of 1987, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1257, amending certain provisions of Republic Act 9165, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1258, requiring the registration of prepaid SIM card users, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Information and Communication Technology,
House Bill 1259, providing the granting of rewards and protection to those who will report malfeasance in government, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1260, amending Republic Act 9163, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1261, amending Sections 3 and 17 of Presidential Decree 1638, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1262, mandating the use of proceeds from the development, lease, or use of certain government properties, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Welfare,
House Bill 1263, authorizing the disposal and or commercial development of certain military camps, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security and the Special Committee on Bases Conversion.
House Bill 1264, amending Republic Act 7227, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security and the Special Committee on Bases Conversion.
House Bill 1265, establishing a national railway system, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1266 is strengthening the Laguna Lake Development Authority, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization and the Committee on Public Works and Highways.
House Bill 1267, establishing a mechanism for the National Identification System, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Population and Family Relations.
House Bill number 1268, granting travel allowances to barangay health workers, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1269, requiring the Toll Regulatory Board to conduct public hearings, Biason.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1270, creating the Debt Management Board, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 1271, amending Articles 155 and 157 of Executive Order 209, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1272, including medical expenses as allowable tax deductions, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 1273, granting civil service eligibility to contractual and coterminous government employees, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 1274 is instituting reforms in real property valuation, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization.
House Bill 1275, reorganizing and strengthening the Cooperative Development Authority, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Cooperative Development.
House Bill 1276, amending Republic Act 7157, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 1277, standardizing the allowances of the government on detail abroad, Representative Biason.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
House Bill 1278, providing open pilotage services in the country, Representative Manalo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1279, establishing the National Center for Geriatric Health, Representative Salo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1280, providing for the special protection of children, Representative Belmonte Jose Christopher.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1281, converting the Marinduque State College, Representative Velasco.
To the Committee on Welfare of Children.
House Bill 1282, amending Article 147 of Act Number 3815, Representative Velasco.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1283, amending Article 355 of Act Number 3815, Representative Velasco.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1284, amending Article 142 of Act Number 3815, Representative Velasco.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1285, amending Article 149 of Act Number 3815, Representative Velasco.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1286, providing for a maritime code, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1287, creating the Maritime Authority of the Philippines, Representative Bagilat.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises.
House Bill 1288, providing for the registration of ships and incentives, Representative Bagilat. Transportation, sir.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1289, providing for parent support, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Population and Family Relations.
House Bill 1290, postponing the Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections, Representative Villapuerte.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 1291, establishing the Kalinga Heritage Museum, Representative Mangawang.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1292, implementing a prepaid electrification system, Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1293, establishing a tertiary hospital in the city of San Jose del Monte, Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1294, establishing a university in the Lone District of San Jose del Monte, Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1295, declaring the city of San Jose del Monte, province of Bulacan as broadcasting hub, Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 1296, declaring the city of San Jose del Monte as human resource capital, Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill 1297, declaring the city of San Jose del Monte as enterprise city, Representative Robes.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 1298, establishing a drug treatment and rehabilitation facility, Representative Robes.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1299, dividing Barangay Muson in the city of San Jose del Monte, Representative Robes.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1300, regulating the manufacture, distribution, and sale of supplementary, complementary, alternative medicines, the Representative Robes.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1301, institutionalizing a system of one lifetime identification number, Representative Bertiz.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1302, establishing a special social security for migrant workers, Representative Bertiz.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1303, strengthening the Commission on Human Rights, Representative Relampagos.
to the Committee on Human Rights,
House Bill 1304, protecting the rights of internally displaced persons, Representative Relampagos.
to the Committee on Human Rights,
House Bill 1305, creating the Commission on Immigration, Representative Batawil.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1306, providing for the reorganization and modernization of the PIP, Representative Batawil.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1307, exempting from terminal fees all senior citizens, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1308, honoring Filipino senior citizens, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1309, establishing a senior citizens technology and livelihood center, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1310, establishing a district hospital in Quezon City, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1311, providing for a budget allocation of 1%, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1312, allowing senior citizens to serve as representatives to the Sangguniang Bayan, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1313, granting every senior citizen free movie seat and or free parking slot, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1314, moving the observation of national holidays falling on a Sunday on the immediate succeeding Monday, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1315, granting specific emergency powers of the President, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1316, implementing a free use policy for ancillary service, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1317, giving tax credit to physicians, Representative Velarde.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1318, requiring the mandatory compliance to automatically turn on and ride with their headlights on, Representative Velarde.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1319, requiring the use of child restraint.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1320, requiring mandatory seminar on traffic rules, at Velarde.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1321, creating Barangay Kumawas, Representative Pimentel.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1322, creating Barangay Ginhalinan, Representative Pimentel.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1323, increasing pensions under the SSS, Representative Pimentel.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1324, amending sections 11, 14, 19, 51, and 53 of Batas Pambansa 68, Representative Pimentel.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1325, increasing the base pay schedule of all uniformed personnel, Representative Pimentel.
to the Committee on Appropriation,
House Bill 1326, increasing the allowance for personal exemptions of Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1327, dividing Barangay Kanumay, Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1330, amending Republic Act 8042, Representative Gatchalian.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1333, providing for mandatory full medical assistance, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security and the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1334, mandating the reparations for victims of armed conflict, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Human Rights,
House Bill 1335, establishing a national program for sharing of organs, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1336, amending Republic Act 10606, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1337, mandating full disclosure of relevant facts, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1138, mandating the establishment and maintenance of green spaces, Representative Lanete.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1339, providing and to promoting quality delivery of health, Representative Villapuerte.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1340, protecting Filipino mothers and their children from malnutrition, Representative Villapuerte.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1341, renaming the Hilltop Rizal PNP Command, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1343, declaring as agricultural land certain parcels of land, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1344, prescribing stricter penalties on the crime of delivering prisoners, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1345, instituting the Magna Carta of Daycare Workers, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on the Welfare of Children,
House Bill 1346, institutionalizing and strengthening public-private partnership, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1347, providing for the mechanism for the determination of the propriety of filing criminal complaint, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1348, defining the offense of indiscriminate discharge of firearms, Representative Acop.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1349, declaring an elective official ipso facto resigned, Representative Lagman.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1350, increasing the base pay schedule of all military personnel, Representative Pimentel.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1351, defining and classifying employment relationship, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1352, protecting the welfare of informal workers, Representatives Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1353, regulating the practice of employers, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1354, allowing foreign individuals or organizations to engage in trade union activities, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1355, reducing the minimum membership requirement for registration of unions, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1356, instituting policies for the protection of and welfare of Filipino seafarers, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1357, establishing a productivity improvement program, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1358, providing for the remedy of filing a petition for certiorari, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1359, establishing a municipal livelihood and employment resource center, Representative Loyola.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1360, providing for a 10,000 across-the-board increase in the basic salary of elementary and secondary public school teachers, Representative Loyola.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1361, declaring a parcel of land public domain and agricultural lands about Paduano.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1363, establishing a fisheries research center, Vargas Alfonso.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1364, transferring the extension office of the LTO, Vargas Alfonso.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1366, providing for dental service in every rural health unit, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1367, establishing a midwifery scholarship and placement program, Representative Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1368, requiring the submission of a valid NBI clearance before and any facial plastic surgery, Representative Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1369, providing the enabling mechanisms for research and development, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1370, providing coconut husk decorticating facilities, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1371, providing for local absentee voting, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1372, providing for local absentee voting for PWDs, Tan Angelina.
to the Commission on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1373, providing for local absentee voting for senior citizens, Tan Angelina.
the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1374, providing for the establishment of permanent evacuation centers, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1375, establishing the Maulawin Spring, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1376 requiring all public hospitals throughout the country to establish an inmates ward sa Tanangelina.
To the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1377 providing social services for the dependents of farmers sa Tanangelina.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 1378 establishing a Magna Carta for Philippine Internet Freedom sa Herrera D.
to the Committee on Information and Communication Technology,
House Bill 1379 including responsive, empowered, and service-oriented youth sa Vargas.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1382 increasing the maternity leave period to 100 days sa Vargas.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 1386 declaring La Mesa Dam Eco Park as tourism site, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1387 establishing a national vision screening program, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1388 institutionalizing citizens' participation in the budget process, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1389 institutionalizing the scholarship grants to public school teachers, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1390 providing for student housing financing scheme, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1391 strengthening the barangays through support of barangay officials, Vargas.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1392 providing for the implementation of the Agricultural Road Infrastructure Network Program, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1393 prohibiting the malicious and willful dissemination of false information, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1394 granting the barangays created under Republic Act 7160, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1395 prohibiting government entities, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1396 providing for 15-year moratorium, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1397 prohibiting the LGUs to allocate funds, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1398 establishing a drug rehabilitation center, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Drugs,
House Bill 1399 establishing the Philippine Eel Research Center, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1400 creating the Caraga National Dairy Cow Research Center, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1401 mandating the integration of local and provincial histories, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1402 providing for mandatory appointment of tourism officers, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1403 providing for the designation, development of regional state universities, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1404 providing for the establishment of health facilities, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1405 creating the National Research Center, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1406 to 1409 declaring various sites in Agusan del Norte, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Tourism,
House Bill 1410 establishing a peace port in Benavista, Agusan del Norte, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1411 establishing a fish port, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1412 establishing a mariculture development park, Representative Amante.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1413 amending sections 23 and 24 Republic Act 9165, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1414 strengthening the human organ tissue donation and transplantation programs, Representative Salo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1415 establishing the Philippine National Cancer Center, Representative Velarde.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1416 deploying police personnel sa Velarde.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1417 regulating outdoor advertising sa Velarde.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1418 creating the Metro Bataan Development Authority, Representative Garcia.
the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1419 creating the Manila Bay Development Authority, Representative Garcia.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1420, establishing the Kalanguya Center sa Cosalan.
to the Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities and Indigenous Peoples,
House Bill 1421, creating 2 additional divisions in the Court of Appeals sa Cosalan.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1422, renewing the franchise granted to satellite paging sa Cosalan.
to the Committee on Legislative Affairs, franchises,
House Bill 1423, providing incentives for encourage conservation and maintenance of forest covers at Cosalan.
to the Special Committee on Reforestation,
House Bill 1425, renaming the Acop Tublay Kapangalan National Roads at Cosalan.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1426, establishing the Negros Occidental First District Engineering Office at YAP.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1427, providing for the creation of the Department of Fisheries and Coastal Resources at TUPAS.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1428, instituting the Free Nutri-Meals Program sa TUPAS.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1429, institutionalizing a conditional cash transfer program sa TUPAS.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill 1430, promoting graduate studies at Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1431, making TESDA certification equivalent to first-level civil service eligibility sa Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1432, granting free tuition fees at Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1433, institutionalizing a college loan programs, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1434, providing accident insurance, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1435, establishing a community college, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1436, setting the minimum for increase in teacher salaries at Belaro.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1437, establishing the educational mutual funds at Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1438, establishing a nutrition program sa Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1439, providing all doubles and their dependents abroad access to higher education to Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1440, establishing a computer internet laboratory, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1441, giving priority to retired teachers, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1444, institutionalizing the holding of job fairs, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1443, mandating every barangay in the country to promote full employment, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1444, granting tax incentives, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Science and Technology,
House Bill 1445, granting free tuition fees, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1446, systematizing, standardizing, and unifying the school accreditation process, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education and the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1447, creating the National Center for Scholarships, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1448, giving road access to all public schools in the country, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1449, regulating rentals of school dormitories, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1450, allowing senior high school graduates to be employable, Representative Belayo.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1450, prohibiting discrimination of teachers, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 1452, standardizing and regulating preschools, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1453, granting hardship allowance, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1454, providing for special education classes, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1455, creating an online library, Representative Belaro.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1456, standardizing the salaries of private school teachers, Representative Bilaro.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1457, requiring health insurers to provide full coverage, Representative Roque Hari.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1458, creating the Philippine Solar Initiative Commission, Representative Roque.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1459, prohibiting profiteering and fraud relating to military action, Representative Roque.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1460, protecting the confidentiality of victims and witnesses' addresses,
To the
Representative
Committee on
Roque.
Justice.
House Bill 1461, amending Republic Act 7941, Representative Roque.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 1462, requiring the DNR to develop and implement program for the voluntary assessment, Representative Roque.
To the Committee on Ecology.
House Bill 1463, constituting a constitutional convention, Representative Sarmiento.
To the Committee on Constitutional Amendments.
House Bill 1464, postponing the Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections, Representative Sarmiento.
To the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms.
House Bill 1465, increasing the combat duty pay, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1466, mandating the payment of all retirement benefits, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization.
House Bill 1467, establishing the Solar Energy Development Authority, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization and the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1468, amending certain provisions of Republic Act 7394, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 1469, granting travel allowances, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1470, improving the coordination between the DND and the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security and the Committee on Veterans Affairs and Welfare.
House Bill 1471, establishing the Address Confidentiality Program, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Women and Gender Equality.
House Bill 1472, granting fixed monthly honorarium and other benefits, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1473, requiring mandatory school inspections, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1474, granting a 1,000 monthly allowance or incentive to all barangay tanods, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1475, amending Section 11 of Republic Act 7183, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1476, prohibiting the public exhibition or display of obscene and or distractive motion, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 1477, regulating the use of government ambulances, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1478, prescribing required minimum knowledge and competencies, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1479, amending Republic Act 53, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 1480, expanding the cash and non-monetary benefits, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Youth and Sports Development.
House Bill 1481, promoting hydroponics, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 1482, promoting the full realization of constitutional provisions on social justice, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1483, establishing a comprehensive integrated national policy and program, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1484, requiring all independent power producers, generation companies, and energy resource developers to remit the amount they are required, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1485, the disaster preparedness plans of LGUs, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1486, granting public elementary and high school teachers non-wage benefits, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture and the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1487, ordaining a Bill of Rights for Filipino consumers, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Trade and Industry.
House Bill 1488, providing for benefits to military dependents, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1489, requiring every officer and enlisted personnel to undergo a rotation course, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1490, providing for an automatic pay increase, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on National Defense and Security.
House Bill 1491, defining the crime of firearms smuggling, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 4092, granting additional insurance benefits, Representative Abayon.
To the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 4093, providing steeper penalties for theft, robbery, and destruction of public school property, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on the Revision of Laws,
House Bill 4094, amending Section 13 of Republic Act 7160, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1495, amending Title 5, Section 470A, 8, and Section 471A of Republic Act 7160, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1496, providing provisional relief to certain victims of typhoons, Abayon.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 1497, prescribing school bus safety standards, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1498, granting priority to honor graduates, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1499, institutionalizing the opening of night classes, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1500, prohibiting the use of labeled fresh milk, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
Resolutions, House Resolution 76, commending the Permanent Court of Arbitration, Representative Olivares.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Resolution 77, expressing profound condolences on the demise of boxing champion Muhammad Ali, Representative Olivares.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 78, expressing gratitude to His Excellency President Benigno S. Aquino III, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Resolution 79, expressing the sense of the House, Representative Villapuerte.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Resolution 80, direct the appropriate committees to inquire into the structural integrity and the reliability of the La Mesa Dam,
to the,
St. Vargas.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution 81, urging the NHA to condone the penalties and restructure the financial obligations of the beneficiaries at the National Government Center of Castelo.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Resolution 82, commending and congratulating the Iglesia ni Cristo of Castelo.
to the Committee on Rules,
House Resolution of both Houses number 6, calling for a constitutional convention to the Representative Defensor.
to the Committee on Constitutional Amendments.
Mr. Speaker,
Distinguished Majority Leader,
I move that we call the roll of members. So moved, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
the Secretary General is hereby directed upon motion of the Majority Leader to call the roll.
Roll call of members, honorable representatives, Abad, Abaya, Abayon, Abellanosa, Abu, Abueg, Acharon, Acop, Acosta, Acosta Alba, Adjong, Advincula, Agaraw, Agabaw, Aglipay Bilyar, Akbar, Albano, Alcala, Alejano, Antonio, Aragones, Arbizon, Arcillas, Arenas, Atienza, Aumentado, Bagaw, Bagaching, Bagilat, Banal, Barbers, Barsaga, Batawil, Batocabe, Bautista Bandigan, Bilaro, Belmonte Feliciano, Belmonte S. Christopher, Belmonte Ricardo, Benitez, Bernos, Bertiz, Biason, Billones, Biron, Bulilia, Bundok, Bordado, Bravo Anthony, Bravo Marabida, Brosas, Bulot Bigtang, Cagas, Calderon, Calixto Rubiano, Caminero, Campos, Kanama, Kari, Casilaw, Castelo, Castro Franz, Castro Fredinil, Catamco, Cayetano, Celeste, Serafica, Cirilles, Chavez, Chipeco, Coanco, Culliantes, Cortés, Cortuna, Cosalan, Crisólogo, Cuba, Cuaresma, Cueva, Dalipe, Dalog, Daza, De Jesus, De Venecia, De Vera, Defensor, Del Mar, Del Rosario, De Los Montalia, Di Maporo Abdullah, Di Maporo Muhammad, Duwabit, Durano, Di, Ilago, Enverga, Erice, Erigel, Ermita Buhain, Escudero, Espina, Espino, Estrella, Eusebio, Evardone, Fariñas, Fernando, Ferrer Juliet, Ferrer Luis, Ferriol, Florendo, Flores, Fortuno, Fortun, Fentebella, Garbin, Garcia Gwendolyn, Garcia Jose, Garcia Albano, Gary Richard, Gary Sharon, Gasataya, Gatchalian, Heron, Guana Cristina, Gomart, Gomez, Gonzaga, Gonzales Alexandria, Gonzales Aurelio, Gonzales Fernando, Gorizeta, Gullias, Hernandez, Herrera-D, Hoffer, Halesos, Javier, Konghun, Labad-Labad, Lacson, Lagman, Lanete, Laugan, Lasatin, Liachon, Lee, Lim Kay Chong, Lobrigat, Lopez Benhur, Lopez Carlo, Lopez Manuel, Loyola, Macapagal-Arroyo, Maceda, Madrona, Malapitan, Manalo, Mangawang, Mangudadato Suharto, Mangudadato Sajid, Marcoleta, Marcos, Mariño, Marquez, Martinez, Matugas, Miliana, Mending, Mercado, Mirasol, Montoro, Nava, Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Carlo, Nolasco, Núñez Malañaon, Waminal, Ocampo, Olivares, Ong Edwin, Ong Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Vini, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicia Sagabas, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Revilla, Roa Puno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Romualdo, Roque Hari, Roque Rogelio, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sahali, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar, Sabiliano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Estrellita, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Si Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelina, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Shirley, Tejada, Teves, Chanco, Ting, Tino, Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, Turabi Nataman, Ti, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Vilarde, Velasco, Velasco Catera, Veloso, Vergara, Villapuerte, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villarin, Violago, Yap Arthur, Yap Milesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Marcarmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Sarate, Subiri. Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 268 members responded to the call.
With 268 members responding to the call, the chairs declare a quorum. Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
distinguished Majority Leader.
I move for the election of the following
Mr.
members
Speaker.
to the respective committees.
Mr.
For
Speaker,
the Commission on Appointments, Ronaldo B. Zamora as head of the House Contingent. For Appropriations, as member number 1, Carlo Alexei Nograles. For Energy, as member number 1, Lord Alan J. Q. Velasco. And for Legislative Franchises, as member number 1, Franz E. Alvarez. And for Tourism, as member number 1, Lucy T. Gomez.
There is a motion to elect the number 1 member of the committees referred to by the Majority Leader. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved.
Mr.
Speaker,
I
I'm
move that
seeking
we
recognition.
recognize
Mr.
the
Speaker, Mr.
the
Speaker,
gentleman from party list,
Mr.
the
Speaker,
Honorable
I'm
Neil
rising
Abayon.
for
The Honorable
recognition.
Neil Abayon of Aangat Tayo.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'm rising.
I move that the gentleman be recognized, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I object because I'm rising for recognition on a matter that is of more precedence than what the majority leader is asking recognition for.
What does the majority leader say?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion for the recognition of the gentleman, and I pray that he be recognized.
Mr. Speaker,
With
Mr. Speaker,
the-
I am objecting to the motion
With the,
because I'm rising on a point of order.
what is the rule violated?
I'm rising on a point of order. This is in relation to the amendment proposed by the distinguished majority leader in the session of July 25th in regard to Rule 12, Section 94, where the House approved an amendment to this particular provision to provide for proper attire, quote, members shall wear proper attire which is barong Filipino or coat and tie or business attire for men and Filipina dress or business suit for women and observe proper decorum during sessions and committee meetings. The point that I'm raising on is in regard to what is business attire for men. Because I notice that there are some members, and I don't wish to mention their names, who are in the session hall with coat and tie, wearing coat but without tie. I would like, therefore, to raise that issue and get a ruling from the chair whether wearing a coat without a tie constitutes business attire under this rule as amended in the session of July 25th. Now, I also want, so that we can save time, Mr. Speaker, I would like to get also a ruling from the chair whether business attire includes polo barong, whether that includes wearing short sleeve with tie, or also wearing long sleeve without tie.
Before I request the majority leader to respond, it is the comment of the chair that there is no point of objection because it is not the subject matter being raised now on the floor. And second, the chair does not see any rule being violated because, in the first place, the suggestion of the majority leader is not part of the rule. Therefore, the point of order is misplaced and not to be taken by the chair. Mr. Majority
Speaker,
Leader, you may respond.
Mr. Speaker, I move to reconsider
Mr. Speaker,
because
the
I
Speaker has ruled
I
that-
note that even the Speaker is now on the rostrum and does not wear a tie. I'm sorry, I have to mention that because of the ruling of the chair.
Because I abide by the regulation. The chair abides by the regulation that was announced by the majority leader as regulation of the House.
Now, in other words, Mr. Speaker, the ruling is that coming to the session hall in coat without tie is proper business attire. Is that the ruling of
It
the
is
chair?
not a ruling yet. It is simply comment of the chair. As I said, it is the comment of the chair before the chair asks the majority leader to respond.
Well,
Majority leader, you may now respond.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
In
I
business-
move for the suspension
in
of
business
Majority leader
parlance.
is recognized.
in business parlance, when you say business attire, it is a jacket or a coat worn over a shirt. So, for business attire, in our purposes, as envisioned our speaker, wearing polo barong is not allowed. So, may I ask the speaker to kindly rise? The wear of the speaker is a business attire. In normal parlance, you have a shirt and a jacket over it, like the gentleman from Camarines Sur. That's a business attire. But a polo barong for our purpose is not business attire.
Well, if that is the ruling of the chair, I simply wanted a clear-cut definition of what is business attire. In fact, I do not see why the majority leader and the chair seem to be ruffled by a simple point of order in order for the ruling to come from the chair. If the ruling says that wearing coat without a tie is proper attire, I'm not contesting it. I just want to have it put on the records so that the members should be properly informed.
Mr. Speaker, may I respond to the gentleman?
Majority Leader is
I don't think
recognized.
I look ruffled as you are, as the gentleman is. I take exception to his statement that the majority leader was ruffled by the simple question. I was ready to answer as I did answer.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I made my observation. I think the membership has seen that for a simple point of order that raised a question on how a provision of proper attire should be defined has brought about this long discussion, So, if the majority takes exception to my observation, I also take exception to his observation.
We agree with each other, Mr. Speaker.
The statement of Congressman Dasa and the response of the Majority Leader are hereby noted.
Thank you,
Majority
Mr.
Leader.
Speaker.
Move
Thank
for
you.
the recognition of the gentleman.
Congressman Abayon is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, and to everyone here right now, magandang gabi po sa ating lahat. This humble representation is simply here to render my report on the outcome of the meeting of the minority last July 27. So my report is titled Manifestation Reiterating Our Vote for Honorable Danilo E. Suarez as Minority Floor Leader. Whereas, as recorded in Journal Number 1 of the 17th Congress before the elections for the Speaker of the House of Representatives on 25 July 2016, the Honorable Atienza made a parliamentary inquiry on who would elect the Minority Leader of the House of Representatives. Whereas Majority Floor Leader, the Honorable Rep. Fariñas, referred to Section 8 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, he explained that the members who voted for the winning candidate for the Speaker shall constitute the majority, while those who voted against the winning Speaker or who did not vote at all shall belong to the minority and would thereafter elect their Minority Leader. Whereas, pursuant to the above, all those who did not vote for the winning Speaker were notified of a separate election of the Minority Leader which was held last 27 July 2016. Whereas only Rep. Danilo E. Suarez was nominated during the separate election and 22 members subsequently voted for him for the minority leadership position. Whereas in consonance with Section 8 of the Rules of the House of Representatives, we, the members of the minority, are hereby reaffirming our vote for Danilo Suarez as our minority floor leader of the 17th Congress. Now therefore, be it resolved, as it is hereby resolved, that the House of Representatives recognize our vote for Honorable Danilo E. Suarez for the position of minority floor leader of the House of Representatives. This report was signed by the following: the Honorable Atienza of Buhay, Harry Roque of Kabayan, Honorable Campos of the 2nd District of Makati, Honorable Del Rosario of the 1st District of Makati, Delphine Gili of the Party List Agri, Ana Marie Villarasa Suarez of Party List Alona, Orestes T. Salon of Party List Agri, yours truly, Harleen Neil J. Abayon III of the Party List Aangat Tayo, Marlene B. Alonte, Lone District, Binyan, Laguna, Arlene B. Arcillas of the 1st District of Laguna, Crystal Bagatsing, 5th District, Manila, Joseph Santonino B. Bernos, Lone District, Abra, Aniceto D. Bertis, the 3rd Party List AX OFW, Anthony M. Bravo, Party List Co-op Natco, Arnel M. Serafica, 1st District, Taguig City, Pateros, Cecilia Leonila V. Chavez of the party list Butil, Juliet R. Cortuna, party list A Teacher, Eugene Michael B. De Vera of party list ABS, Richard C. Eusebio of the Lone District of Pasig City, Abigail Faye C. Ferriol Pascual of party list Kalinga, and Alfred A. Garbin Jr. of party list Ako Bicol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the manifestation of the Honorable Abayon to the Committee on Rules. So move, Mr. Speaker.
Point of
Your
order.
Honor.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
What is the point of order?
The
Congressman
manifestation.
Lagma.
The manifestation, Mr. Speaker.
What in
Was
the rule
reported-
was violated by the manifestation of the gentleman?
The
or Congressman
manifestation
Abayon?
violated Section 8 of our rules, Mr. Speaker.
Can you please explain how the rule was violated?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, willingly. Number one, when they called a meeting to elect the minority leader, most of them abstained, Your Honor. The abstention had the effect of not aligning themselves either with the majority or the minority. Under the last paragraph of Section 8, they are considered independent members. They can write to the majority leader. There was no process that took place, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor. How is it that they became minority automatically simply because they did not vote? I said, if you do not vote, you chose not to align yourself with any of the groups, either majority or the minority. Under what authority, Mr. Speaker, they can call themselves minority without getting into the process of making themselves first, identify themselves first as the minority? This is a travesty of our own rules. How would you apply paragraph 8, or the last paragraph of Section 8? Who are they? They are supposed to be independent members. Have they become minority by simply calling an election and decide to elect their minority leader? It is not so, Mr. Speaker. They relied on the opinion as already admitted by our current majority leader during our commencement plenary. But when that opinion, Mr. Speaker, was articulated on the floor, the Honorable Pariñas, my very good friend, Mr. Speaker, was not yet majority floor leader. He was acting floor leader, Mr. Speaker. We already adopted our rules prior to the raising of that parliamentary issue, Mr. Speaker. It did not ripen into a rule decided by the members. We were already operating under adopted rule. How come that there was an articulated opinion on the floor by the acting floor leader, not yet the majority leader, Your Honor? Of course, we did not respond. We did not react. We're not supposed to react. It was an honest opinion. Anybody is entitled to his opinion, whether right or wrong. Did it have the effect of amending the last paragraph of Section 8, Mr. Speaker? So what is that manifestation all about? It is the transgression of the rules, Mr. Speaker. Anybody who is independent must first execute the procedures. They did not do anything about that. Or they're saying they do not have anybody to write to. Why not? The Honorable Bagilat got 8 votes. Mr. Suarez got 7 votes. Mr. Speaker, can I refer? Can I refer to the order of the day on July 25? May I ask the plenary affairs section to please flash to the what do you call this? To the screen board, so that we can elucidate how the election of the majority leader came into being, and why is it that there was no item there assigned for the election of minority leader? Why? There is only an item, I think it's item, can you please flash that? Palakihin mo naman ng konti, hindi natin makita yan. Number 11, Mr. Speaker, you can see that there is an item there provided for the election of the majority leader. But did anyone wonder, why is it that there is no one, there is no item for the election of minority leader? Why? Did anybody do it by design? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because
Speaker.
everybody knows
Mr.
that
Speaker.
the second
The
candidate
majority leader
who
is
garnered
recognized to
the
respond.
second number of votes
Point
becomes
of order, Mr.
automatically
Speaker.
the minority leader.
The majority
I'm
leader
raising
is
a point of
recognized to
order, Mr.
respond.
Speaker. The gentleman from Congressman Abayon rendered a report. Are we
Mr.
allowed
Speaker, I
are
still
we
have the
allowed
floor.
to debate on a report?
Mr. Speaker,
I say that
I
we should
still
not.
have the
Congressman
floor.
Atienza is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the first time that I am seeing a debate initiated or being encouraged on a question of the report. I would suggest to the gentleman, Congressman Marcoleta, that if he has any complaint to the report, he should appeal it to the Speaker's office.
Mr. Speaker,
Not
I
in this
am
floor, because
raising,
we have other
I
matters
am
to tackle.
raising a privileged question.
At this point in
Congressman
time,
Atienza has the floor.
thank you. At this point in time, the gentleman is asking, was there anybody who pointed out on the schedule or the agenda that we were discussing on July 26? Meron po. Ako po yung nag-raise eh. Humingi po ako ng paliwanag sa ating alituntunin. Wala nga po rin sa agenda yung ating paghahalal ng minority leader. That's the reason why I asked, who will elect the minority leader? And the majority floor leader very clearly said, ang maghahalal ng minority leader ay mga membro ng mga minority. Yun po naman ang naganap. So a report is now being rendered to the body, and if anybody disagrees with the report, I would suggest they appeal to the office of the Speaker, and the records of the chamber will prove the point that an inquiry was raised at that particular time, which has already been defined by no less than the majority floor leader in that particular session when it was being questioned precisely after the fact, when the election was already announced that the majority floor leader has been elected by the majority and the minority would meet thereafter. May tawag po dyan. Naintindihan ko po yun. Estoppel. Wala pong nag-question nung yan ay pinapaliwanag ng ating majority leader. And a question that has been stopped by non-action, ay meron po tayong definition dyan. Meron pong kasabihan yan. He who does not, when he can, may not when he wills it. Hindi po sila nagsabi, hindi naman po pwedeng pag-usapan natin ito, permanente pagdebatihan itong issue ito. Meron silang question, pumunta sila sa office of the Speaker at mag-question sila. Yan po yung malinaw na malinaw. Itong issue ito ay napag-usapan, formal na itala sa ating records sa ating chamber. Kaya ito po hindi na mababago-bago. This issue is academic. Ang Tagalog, sa Tagalog po yan, tapos na po yan. Sa English, consummated. Sa Latin,
pa pong katapusin yan,
consummatum
Mr. Speaker.
est. Maraming salamat po.
At palagay ko po, Mr.
Speaker,
Speaker, I
Majority
still
Leader.
have the floor.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, I still have the floor until I was interrupted.
Mr.
I have
Speaker,
not finished, Mr.
The
Speaker.
chair has made the ruling that Congressman Atienza has the floor and therefore there was no interruption. Now the chair recognizes the distinguished majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, this is our parliamentary status, if I may call it as such. The gentleman, the Honorable Abayon, made a manifestation. So it was referred upon motion of, there's a motion for it to be referred to the Committee on Rules. A manifestation cannot be objected to. That's his manifestation. Neither is any rule violated by a manifestation. He made a manifestation. Now, the gentleman is questioning about the elections, which was debated upon extensively last week. So this is a pure manifestation. Then let it be, may reiterate the motion of the majority leader that the manifestation be referred to the Committee on Rules. And I do not see any violation, because what will we do with the manifestation if not to refer it to the Committee on Rules, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Speaker, will the distinguished majority leader yield to a few questions? I would like to interpret him on the
The chair
point
has
that he
not
raised.
recognized yet Congressman Dasa.
Floor
May I
leader.
move to the previous question? There's a pending motion, Mr. Speaker. Now, are they objecting to the motion? But how can I be interpellated when I am making a motion as a majority leader? I am not delivering a privileged
Just
speech.
2 or 3
A
questions.
person who delivers a privileged speech may
The
be
position of the
interpolated.
distinguished
but
majority leader is well taken, and therefore the motion is approved, and the manifestation of the gentleman, Congressman Abayan, is hereby referred to the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, today being a Monday and pursuant to the rules of the House, I move that we hold a privilege hour. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? There being no objection, the chair declares a privilege hour.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Mr. Speaker.
Congressman Lagman,
Before we go to the privilege hour, I would like to make a manifestation and request.
proceed, Congressman Lagman.
In reaction to the report of the Honorable Abayon on the apparent recognition of the Honorable Danilo Suarez as, quote, minority leader, unquote, I wish to memorialize in today's journal our letter dated August 1, 2016, to the Honorable Speaker, which was received today by his office, referring to the status of the minority leader as well as the minority in the House of Representatives. In order to save time, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, may I request that the contents of this letter be included verbatim in the journal of today, so that it will reflect the position of members of the minority, Your Honor, mentioned in that letter. This is a 4-page letter, Your Honor, and I would instantly provide the appropriate office of the Secretary General with a copy of this letter so that it can be reproduced or included in the journals of today.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, likewise, we move that the manifestation of the Honorable Lagman be referred to the Committee on Rules. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I am not requesting that this be referred to the Committee on Rules. As a matter of fact, the Committee on Rules has not been constituted. Until now, we don't have a Committee on Rules because only representatives of majority are there. It is the practice in this August chamber that members of the House can request for the inclusion in the journal certain manifestation, documents, or report. That is the rule in the House. That is the tradition in the House, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker.
Now the chair now would like to make a ruling that a mere request the chair cannot act, unless, however, that it is placed as and by way of a motion. Are you, Congressman Lagman, are you moving that the same be noted in the journal, or simply requesting?
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, the majority moves that the request be noted in the journal. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Unless if my request is not granted, thank you for granting my request that it should be included in the journal. I would be reading the contents of this letter. But considering that we can save time with the inclusion of this, the contents verbatim of this letter, thank you, Mr. Majority Leader,
Mr.
for
Majority
acceding
Leader,
to my request.
the chair is consistent with its ruling that it will not entertain requests to have it noted in the journal unless
Mr. Speaker,
that
I
the
move for the
majority leader
inclusion.
moves it or place it in a motion.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that the remarks of the request of the Honorable Lagman be included in the journal. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, the privilege are being declared. I move for a recognition of our colleague from the 3rd District of Negros Oriental, the Honorable Arnolfo A. Teves, for his chance to avail of the privilege are. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Upon motion of the distinguished majority leader, Representative Arnolfo A. Teves Jr. is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, everybody. I rise here today to speak on the matter of rehabilitation of our drug surrenderies. But before that, I would like to take this opportunity to admit that though I was not with our president during the last election, I was equally happy that he won the presidency because I had fears that the Philippines was on its way to becoming a narco state. You know, as a recovering addict, I was a very long-time drug addict, but I have been clean for the last 16 plus years. I don't even take alcohol. Anyways, because of what the President and General De La Rosa did, be it out of fear, be it out of whatever, we have this unprecedented number of surrenderies. It has not happened anywhere in the world. More than 100,000 surrenderies around the country. What do we do with all these surrenderies? I was forecasting that so many LGUs will be thinking of putting up rehabilitation centers. How much will these rehabilitation centers cost? How many addicts can we handle in these rehabilitation centers? Because of this, I suggested to some of the people I know, and I even went to the DILG. I was invited as their guest speaker during one of the technical working groups meetings on the rehabilitation process. I am suggesting to the national government and also sharing with this august body that there is a way to help all the surrenderies undergo rehabilitation at a very, very low cost. According to my computations, it would only cost the government 2,500 per addict per program. That is very, very cheap. Normal, usual cost, average cost of rehabilitation today is about 1,000 pesos per day times 90 days. That's about 90,000 per addict per program. That will be very costly to our government. How will this program go? My suggestion is that we do sessions in our public high schools between 5 to 8 in the evening every day. Why 5 to 8 in the evening? Because at those times, our schools are not being used. Another more important aspect of the 5 to 8 in the evening, this is the time the addict's day starts. This is the time when they have the most cravings. That's why I suggest we make use of this time to help to make use of our classrooms in the rehabilitation of our surrenderies. There will be approximately 50 drug dependents per classroom. Each classroom will be facilitated by 2 primary counselors, 2 secondary counselors, and 2 volunteers. Program will only be 8 to 12 weeks. And to give these addicts structure in their lives again. We will have meetings every 8 to 9 in the morning in our covered courts of the barangay or LGUs. We will also have a 9 to 10 physical therapy optional. Why optional? Because we will not have all of their medical records. That's why we have to do it optional. Baka kasi yung iba may heart condition, hindi naman natin pwede pilitin mag-basketball or mag-zumba. This is a very simple program which I think is very doable. Mr. Chairman, and my colleagues here in Congress, I know that some of us here know of other modalities which are being used around the world and also being used in our country. I do not mind if we also use other modalities, but I appeal to the national government and my colleagues here in Congress that we also consider this modality that I am proposing, as it will be able to handle more addicts in a much shorter time at a very low cost. Also, I am not afraid to push for this modality, as I am a very good example of an addict who is now even already a congressman. I can be a very good example to the more than 100,000 addicts in the Philippines that there is hope after drug addiction or after being hooked into illegal drugs and alcohol. By the way, with the help of one of our colleagues here, Congressman Albi Benitez, my friend Governor Marañon, my brother, former congressman, and now Mayor Pride Henry Teves, we are already starting this program in our province, in some cities and municipalities of our province. We will be launching this program on August 8th. What's another reason why I'm sharing this with my colleagues here? For sure, the executive department will be asking us to approve budgets for rehabilitation. There will be modalities that will be very expensive or more expensive than my suggested modality. We can still go on with other modalities, but again, I suggest let us consider this as it will be fast, massive, and cheap. There will be very little personnel requirement. I would also request that if ever the executive department wants to consider what we call chop suey program, I will really object to that, as chop suey programs don't work, meaning mixed modalities. We can still go on with building rehabilitation centers or other lock-up facilities, because we can still use them for hardcore addicts that will not do well in this voluntary outpatient program. By the way, I would also like to thank the President for helping our surrenderies have this willingness. You know, when I was in rehab, and until today, rehabs only ask for 1% willingness. To us, that is good enough. 1% willingness, or what we call surrender. Surrender does not mean physical surrender, but the acceptance that they have a problem. With what the President and General De La Rosa has done, the addicts now surrendering have, I think, more than 50% willingness. Some even have 100% willingness. On that note, I think for us, counselors in the rehab, it will be easier for us to work on addicts with more than 1% willingness. let us also take note that there are several types of users and there are several types of pushers. There are heavy users and there are beginners. Most people think that it will be easier for rehab counselors to work on beginners. But the fact is, it's the other way around. It's easier for us to work on long-time heavy users than the beginners because usually those newcomers in drug use usually are harder to help because they have not undergone so many problems yet. The heavy users usually have bottomed out already, and as we say in rehab, when you have bottomed out, there's no other way but up. Pushers. There are pushers who are just pushers for business. But a lot of our pushers, I would say 80%, are only selling drugs because of the need for the drug. What I'm trying to say is, because shabu is costly, no poor individual can afford to use shabu without selling. Kung kumikita lang siya ng less than 500 or less than 1,000 a day, I don't think he can continue using shabu kung hindi siya magte-trading or magbebenta. Gusto ko malaman to ng lahat dahil kalimitan sa atin, pag sinabi pusher, isa lang yung alam nilang classification. Ang mas kailangan paglaanan ng pansin ng gobyerno, yung mga pusher na nagbebenta lang para sa negosyo at hindi para sa gamit. I think they do more damage than the addict who tries to trade or sell drugs just to be able to use. When I was in the meeting in the DILG, they mentioned about profiling, asking for DSWD's help and other agencies. To me, with this modality or with this program I am suggesting, hindi na kailangan na marami pang trabaho for profiling. Just by filling out their patient's chart, that is enough profiling already. Another thing that I saw in our meeting with the DILG, pag negative daw sa drug test, hindi na ipapadala sa rehab. So I told them, hindi dapat. You know why? It only takes 4 days, negative na yung tao. So marami dyan dahil sa takot, nag-negative, but I don't think they would be able to continue to stop using without the help of a rehabilitation program. We have a saying in rehab, it's easy to stop, but it's hard to stay stopped. Pwede ka tumigil 1 araw, 2 araw, 3 araw, 1 buwan. But to stay stopped is not very easy to do if you do not understand why you have to stop. That's why sometimes I don't see the need for the majority of addicts to be in lock-up centers, more so lock-up centers without a program. Baka kasi pag sa lock-up center, hindi lang sila tumitira dahil hindi sila makatira, nasa loob sila. What happens when they go out? What we do in this outpatient program is we make them understand why they should not use drugs so that whether they are inside or they are outside, they are being watched or they are free, they understand why they should not use drugs. Another thing that why I'm sharing this with you, because us in rehab, we consider drug addiction as a disease. When we were in the DSWD, I did not mention the disease concept, but in the course of the meeting, I noticed that a lot of them already accepts addiction as a disease. If most of us here will accept that this addiction is a disease, then it will be easier for us to have drug addiction covered by PhilHealth. I have friends asking me, pwede ba mag-pass ka ng bill na makover ng PhilHealth yung addiction? I told them, until such time that people accept addiction as a disease, we cannot have it covered by PhilHealth. Again, I was very glad to hear in our meeting in the DILG that most of the executive department's technical working group members accepts addiction as a disease. So on that note, parang hindi tayo mahihirapan na mapakover sa PhilHealth yung addiction. With that, the more we can help this, so more than 100,000 surrenderies in our country. I can only help as much in terms of demand reduction. Yung supply reduction, trabaho na ng mga pulis yun. I think that's all for now, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, and again, good afternoon.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Teves to the appropriate committee. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Upon motion of the Majority Leader, the Secretary General is hereby directed to refer the speech of gentlemen from Negros Oriental to the appropriate committee.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we acknowledge some guests. The guests of the Congressman of the 1st District of Bulacan, the Honorable Jose Antonio Jonathan C. Alvarado. They are Vice Mayor Pedro Santos of Hagunoy, Bulacan, Vice Mayor Sar Candelaria of Kalumpit, and Councilors of Hagunoy and Kalumpit, Bulacan.
Please rise. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Representative Rogelio Pacquiao of the Lone District of Sarangani to deliver his privileged speech. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Upon motion of the distinguished Majority Leader, Congressman Rogelio Pacquiao is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, fellow members of this August Chamber, Office of the House, members of the Secretariat, legislative staff, guests, ladies and gentlemen, my warmest greetings of peace and solidarity. This humble representation, being a neophyte congressman from the province of Sarangani, begs the kind indulgence of this August Chamber to bear with me as I deliver my privileged speech entitled as My Dream for the Filipino Nation. First and foremost, I am thankful for the Filipino people of Sarangani for the overwhelming mandate in the last election, as well as the support of my brother, Senator Manny Pacquiao. My deepest gratitude to all of them. Also, my warmest congratulations to our Speaker, Bebot Alvarez, as the Speaker of the 17th Congress of the House of Representatives, a fellow Mindanaoan, og parihas nako nga Bisaya pod, Bisayang dako. Rest assured of my utmost trust and confidence in his leadership, because I know that he is exactly the man who can lead us and advance the agenda of ang tunay na pagbabago of our very own and first Mindanaoan President, our beloved President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. I am beaming with pride, Mr. Speaker, as fellow Mindanaoan. Mr. Speaker, the moment I took my oath of office, I personally reflect on the responsibilities given upon me as representative of my constituents as well as the entire Filipino before this House. Article 6, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution provides that the legislative power shall be vested in Congress of the Philippines. Given this mandate, I commit myself to perform my constitutional duty as legislator with utmost integrity, prudence, fidelity, and accountability. This is a covenant with the Filipino people that I take seriously without reservation. With my humble beginnings and experiences in the grassroots level as barangay captain and city councilor, I believe, together with your help, Mr. Speaker, and the rest of my colleagues, can articulate the issues and inspiration of our people into meaningful legislative measures. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, I represent the Lone District of Sarangani, which is situated in the southernmost part of the island of Mindanao, a very beautiful province, blessed by God with abundant natural resources, tourism attractions, and a melting pot for tribe people, the Christians, Muslims, and the indigenous people. Notwithstanding its richness in natural and human resources, Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, it's sad to know that since its creation in 1992, the province of Sarangani always belonged to one of the poorest provinces in the country. In fact, in the first semester of 2015, we are dubbed as the third poorest province with poverty incident at 61.7%. Mr. Speaker, it is not easy task to slay the Goliath and overcome the high incidence of poverty in my district. My brother, Senator Manny Pacquiao, the former representative, has been consistent in helping our constituents in bringing various development projects for Sarangani province. This effort of my brother were complemented by the provincial government through Sulong Sarangani, a local government poverty reduction program. However, these are not enough. We need more interventions from the national government to end the cycle of poverty. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, what are these poverty issues that we are facing in Sarangani province? In health and nutrition, we have large numbers of malnourished children and women who died due to pregnancy-related causes and lack of medical access. Majority has no access to decent and climate change resilient houses. In water and sanitation, significant numbers are without access to safe water and sanitary toilet facilities. In terms of basic education, a significant number of children ages 6 to 16 are not attending school. And in terms of livelihood and income, almost more than 50% are living below the poverty threshold, particularly the marginalized fisher folks and marginalized upland farmers who are predominantly indigenous people. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, based on the data from the National Anti-Poverty Commission, Mindanao has 11 of the 20 poorest provinces. And our common denominator is that we share the same poverty issues. From my very own experience of poverty in Sarangani, I am bringing these issues in the national level and my legislative agenda as my dream to the Filipino nation. Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, I dream of a Philippines with stable democracy and a highly developed trade-oriented market economy. I dream of a Filipino farmers and fishermen with higher standard of living and social security benefits. I dream of good governance that will promote stable political environment end corruption and bureaucratic blunders. I dream of a government that has the political will to address the heart of poverty. I dream of a Mindanao that will not remain as the land of promise, but will transform as land of fulfillment. I dream of a long-lasting peace and development in Mindanao and of the entire country. I dream of a dangerous drugs and crime-free Philippines where Filipinos as well as our future generations are safe. That is why, Mr. Speaker and my colleagues, the call of our President for the national unity in his campaign or crackdown of illegal drugs is worthy of all of our full support. Sa ating mga kababayan, let us rally behind the President. It is high time to be reminded again of the famous statement of John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Mr. Speaker, as a lawmaker, I am publicly declaring my wholehearted support to the agenda of the President, Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And now, as to poverty, Mr. Speaker, and the rest of my colleagues, I am imploring that as we scrutinize the proposed national expenditure program for the 2017 and the succeeding years, we have to ensure the substantial budget for the poverty alleviation were allocated for the 20 poorest provinces in the country. As such, we need to expand and increase our existing social protection and social services and ensure that it will really benefit the poorest of our citizens. We need to address hunger and the challenges in ensuring food sufficiency, particularly in the event of calamities, such as El Nino or La Nina. It is our farmers and their families that were greatly affected. We need infrastructures, roads and bridges so that our children in the hinterlands can have access to the basic education, and so that our farmers can access market of their agri-products. We need to increase our facilities, teachers and classrooms for the K-12 program. We also need to increase our projects related to potable water system and an improved hygiene and sanitation. We need a better universal healthcare program with focus on maternal health, considering that number of maternal deaths have continued to increase. We need to increase socialized housing project for families that were displaced by calamities and armed conflict, as well as those who are living in the danger zones. These are concerns that this humble representation steadfastly considers as priority in terms of budget and legislation in order to address poverty. Mr. Speaker, considering that the Congress of the Philippines holds the power of the purse, I am hoping that this will be given preferential attention by your leadership. Mr. Speaker and the rest of my colleagues, I am really thankful for this opportunity to deliver my privileged speech and for listening to my dream for the Filipino nation and my agenda to end the cycle of poverty. Before I close my speech, may we be reminded of a famous Chinese quote, "The people follow the example of those above them." It is my fervent hope that may we all be worthy to be called as honorable ladies and gentlemen of the House of Representatives by the Filipino people. Thank you very much to the warm reception. May God continue to bless our beloved country, Republic of the Philippines. Thank you.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the privileged speech of Representative Rogelio Pacquiao of the Lone District of Sarangani be referred to the appropriate committee. So moved, Mr.
Objection?
Speaker.
Hearing none, the Secretary General is hereby directed to refer the speech of the distinguished representative from the Lone District of Sarangani to the appropriate committee. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Harry Roque of Party List Kabayan for his privileged speech. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Upon motion of the distinguished Majority Leader, the distinguished representative from the Party List Akabayan is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand before you today on a question of personal and collective privilege. My aim today is to clarify certain basic principles that must serve as important pillars of our society, of any society, in fact, even as we embark on a new chapter in our country's political life. Lest I be misunderstood, I speak before you today not to criticize, but to engage each of us in a necessary and urgent discourse for public justice and the common good. Only last week, we heard President Rodrigo Roa Duterte address the nation for the first time before the House of Representatives and the Senate of the Philippines jointly assembled. His speech, by terms candid and urgent, hammered home the comparing imperatives of our time. Among many pressing concerns, the need for government to be responsive to the needs of the suffering masses, and the heartbreaking and grinding poverty of daily lives. The festering cancer of corruption in all levels of government, the clash between economic progress and environmental protection, the irrelevance of GDP-led economic development, where a greater majority of our own people can barely make both ends meet, if at all. The long-pained cries for peace in many of our country's conflict zones, the fearsome specter of the Philippines becoming a state taken captive by narco-politics and unrestrained criminality. I join the President in his concern for the least of our people. I am more pleased than in his economic and social programs, we see a certain responsiveness and empathy unlike what we have seen in the programs of past administrations. Although I'm a neophyte legislator, I wish to contribute in my own small way to the achievement of these laudable and very urgent economic and social measures. Yet there are certain assertions in President Duterte's SONA that I must confront, admittedly with some measure of trepidation, knowing as I do that he is at historic high as far as his trust rating as president is concerned. That I now stand before you today on a question of personal collective privilege is not just because I've been fighting for recognition of the societal values in the last 2 decades or so of my professional life. It is really that I cannot simply shirk from my duty as a citizen, a lawyer, and a legislator to engage in public discussion about the very values that I believe make any society just, humane, and progressive. Not too long ago, the eminent sociologist C. Wright Mills wrote, and I'm paraphrasing here from memory, about the tragedy of societies losing the values that defined what they once were. It becomes a tragedy doubly worse when societies don't even know the values they have lost in the course of their history. Mr. Speaker, I must admit I was taken aback when President Duterte declared with utmost conviction, and I quote, "Human rights must work to uplift human dignity, but human rights cannot be used as a shield or an excuse to destroy the country, your country, and my country," unquote. I was taken aback because, one, it was met with wild applause from among us, and two, because as a statement, it brought to a stark, if incongruous relief, all other statements in the same speech that said otherwise. To begin with, the President before that said, and I quote, "The rule of law must all times prevail and that his government favors a human approach to development and governance." And then a few paragraphs down, he would lament the loss of life in the seemingly endless conflicts of the Moro and communist insurgencies that are getting bloodier by the day. I very well see that President Duterte is a religious person, having himself acknowledged divine providence in his rise to the most powerful seat in the land. In his SONA, he also spoke about the inseparability of God and state. While we may disagree with respect to the specifics of such a relationship between religion and public sphere, I welcome his implicit recognition that all of statecraft cannot be without limits to the exercise of power. If we were to begin with the assumption that all political power is ordained of God and therefore subject to a higher sovereignty. But human rights not only uplifts human dignity, in fact, human dignity is the foundation of human rights. How we got to such conviction is a long story, but today, so much of legal and historical scholarship has acknowledged that in Western tradition at least, it is rooted in reasoning and reflection over the last millennia or so on the notion that human beings are image bearers of the divine. The secular account, although eschewing the Christian metaphysics of the body, can neither escape the claims of the human to certain basic and absolute entitlements for simply being human. Our humanity demands recognition and respect. It does not go beyond the fact that we humans bleed when we cut, cry when hurt, and laugh and jump when happy. It is a glimpse of recognition of a shared experience and community that we look in the eyes of even our toughest political and military adversaries. It is a pained hope we witness in small and frail children laboring in the blight of urban dumps as they will have food to eat, their first and only meal for the day. We find it in the determination of street dwellers to care for the young and to send them to school no matter what. We find it in the mother's love for her drug-addicted son as he rumbles incoherently while staring into nothing, his brain cells too soaked in toxic chemicals to allow him to think clearly and rationally. Human dignity demands recognition when we see the Quezon City Jail built to house 800 inmates now overflowing with 3,800 inmates. The bare facts of human experience stare back at us and ask us why we should care that this facility, built 60 years ago, is now filled to the brim, no small thanks to the sudden influx of inmates brought in by the anti-drug campaign of the Duterte administration. If they are less human, we can all look away and forget about the utter miseries of their existence. I wince just reading an account of the condition that torments the inmates at the Quezon City Jail. And I quote, "Men take turns to sleep on the cracked cement floor of an open-air basketball court. The steps of staircases beneath beds and hammocks made out of old blankets. Even then, bodies are packed like sardines in a can with inmates unable to fully stretch." Human dignity is the sublime pathos, more than melodrama, invoked by the photograph of a woman embracing the lifeless and bloodied body of her husband, 29-year-old Michael Ciaron, gunned down in the early morning just days ago in Pasay City by unidentified assassins. Ironically, he was, according to his wife, Jeneline Olaires, someone who had voted for President Duterte, in the presidential elections in May. Mr. Speaker, it is just incongruous to say that human rights can be used to destroy our society or restrict human development. In fact, in the history of human rights, the only reason why we can all speak today of human development is precisely because civilization has accorded pride of place over a long struggle for recognition to the very idea of human rights founded on human dignity. From the trenches of Verdun and Somme in World War I to the mad slaughter in the streets of Manila and Shanghai and the genocidal horrors witnessed in the gas chamber of Auschwitz in World War II, the international community has come to a realization of the supreme worth of the individual, before then an invisible entity in international law and mere party in the hands of states, emperors, and despots. President Duterte promises to uplift the conditions of the common tao, but he has also launched a bloody drug war where the dead bodies piling up are mostly those of the same poor throng to whom he had promised economic and social salvation. Perhaps without President Duterte meaning it, we are being made to choose between the raison d'être and thanks to Congresswoman Roman for the pronunciation, of law and order for economic and social development and human rights norms and fundamental freedoms. But the argument is not an original one. Indeed, it has become a common theme of long-standing of human rights being an imposition of an imperialistic UN or some Western interest, and we in Asia and the ASEAN are all the better for it. Sooner we reject such an imposition. It is an argument as old as World War, when the communist bloc rejected civil and political rights in favor of social and economic rights. Indeed, it has been argued more than enough in the context of ASEAN that advances to social and economic rights to the right to development can be made without regard for non-derogable core human rights norms of the right to life, liberty, and security. But philosophers and economists of various types and shades have long debunked this nebulous theory that human rights norms stand in the way of development. For instance, the Nobel Prize awardee Amartya Sen has argued that, in fact, civil and political freedoms are at the core of development. These freedoms enable human functioning, and in turn, full human functioning make possible the conceptualization of economic needs and the shaping of values and norms vital to societal development. Stated otherwise, it is simply foolish to conceive of a normative statecraft that privileges one norm over the others. I concur with my former professor in international law, Rosalind Higgins, former president of the ICJ, who would put it in this manner. I believe profoundly in the universality of human spirits. Individuals everywhere want the same essential things: to have sufficient food and shelter, to be able to speak freely, to practice their own religion, or to abstain from religious belief, to feel that their person is not threatened by the state, to know that they will not be tortured or detained without charge, and that if charged, they will have a fair trial. I believe there is nothing in these aspirations that is dependent upon culture or religion or state of development. They are as keenly felt by the African tribesman as by the European city dweller, by the inhabitants of Latin America, shantytown as by the resident of a Manhattan apartment. If I may elaborate on what her words mean for me, the need for the recognition of fundamental rights is universal, regardless of culture, religion, or nationality. Moreover, we cannot grant one right and deny another. The realization of one norm cannot be pursued independently of the others, precisely because the realization of one norm is dependent on those of others. Economic development cannot be pursued for its own sake to the detriment of the others. And that is why it is provided in the 100th article of the Vienna Declaration of the 1993 Vienna World Conference on Human Rights. All human rights are universal, indivisible, interdependent, and interrelated. The international community must treat human rights globally in a fair and equal manner, on the same footing and with the same emphasis. While the significance of national and regional particularities and various historical, cultural, and religious backgrounds must be borne in mind, it is the duty of states, regardless of their political, economic, and cultural system, to promote and protect all human rights and fundamental freedoms. Thus, it is the historic task of states and governments to move towards what philosophers have called the simultaneous realization of rights and norms. Mr. Speaker, my honored colleagues of the House of Representatives, our people therefore must not be made to choose between what to begin with are interrelated values, rights, and norms. If law and order is important to development, so are civil and political freedoms. Precisely, law and order is one where civil and political freedoms are never dispensed with. Such a conviction is deeply rooted in the very idea of a rule of law, where governments are precluded from whimsical and arbitrary actions, and where everyone, rich or poor, mighty and low, is treated fairly and equally, and where a government official enjoys the same legal entitlements as the lowly private citizens. This is not to say that there are no foundational or core human rights, but this is to say that foundational rights anticipate all the other rights, and all other rights are inconceivable and meaningless without foundational rights. By way of relevant example, the right to life is foundational to all other rights. Both the UDHR and the ICCPR recognize the inherent right to life and that individuals are entitled to right to life, liberty, and the security of persons. We adopted this in Article 3, Section 1 of our Bill of Rights. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, which is why the right to life is non-derogable, whether in times of peace or in times of war. It cannot be denied anyone without due process of law, regardless of the circumstances. The right to life means it is the highest of all societal values, so that it cannot be easily be dispensed with. You kill someone without due process, you deprive him not just of the right to live, but of all other rights to which he is entitled. Even in times of war, the right to life is not obliterated. The UN Special Rapporteur on Extralegal Killings and Summary Executions and Human Rights Watch have observed that a kangaroo court such as that conducted by the New People's Army does not meet the minimum guarantees of fair trial and due process under international law. Thus, it is not a wise, let alone legal and constitutional government policy to make the NPA revolutionary courts the governor's partner in carrying out sentences against alleged criminals. You take away the person's life, you also take away his right to free expression, right to nationality, right to privacy, right to water, right to housing, right to travel, and so on. You kill his right to dream, to imagine a better future, to kiss his wife and hug his children, to do a better person than he is. It is meaningless to talk about free speech when everyone who is supposed to enjoy it is dead. This is why I feel strongly about extrajudicial killings targeting journalists. Because to kill a journalist is to permanently deny them the right to free expression. Killing without due process is the ultimate form of censorship because its effects are final and eternal. As you all know, I have been a private prosecutor in the Maguindanao Massacre case, representing the families of 15 of the 58 victims of what has been described by international organizations as the single worst attack on press freedom in our history. If there is anything to say about my experience in the last 6 years of so prosecuting this case, it is the failure of the justice system to provide an effective remedy to the victims of human rights violations. Perhaps it is time to ask Senator Laila De Lima, who was Secretary of Justice during these last 6 years, what she has done to address the culture of impunity in the Philippines as exemplified in the Maguindanao Massacre. Nothing, Mr. Speaker, has been done to improve the 1% conviction rate in the prosecution of extralegal killings. Mr. Speaker, President Duterte himself has announced the creation of a new task force to investigate the killings of journalists. This is not the first time that such a task force was created, and although I hope it will be the last. The task forces of the past have all proven to be ineffective, largely because they ended doing no more than coordination of government agencies that added more layers to an already overburdened and complex prosecutorial system. Without actual vigorous investigation and successful prosecution of these cases, this new task force will go to the way of its predecessors. Nice to read on paper, but virtually useless. All this really calls for a massive overhaul of our criminal justice system, including the revision of our rules of court, which has relegated the task of investigation to the victims themselves and turned most of our prosecutors into pencil pushers working before desk laden with so much paper. There is also a need for legislation to put into effect the long-standing Minnesota Protocol or the Manual on the Effective Prevention and Investigation of Extralegal, Arbitrary, and Summary Executions. This manual prescribes what government must do in cases where those involved in summary executions are suspected to be under the collar of government authority. Mr. Speaker, there is another matter in the President's speech that I find disturbing. While President Duterte may not have meant it that way, his pronouncements about bona fide media that he considers to be his partners in his quest for development implies that there are those who are not. This recalls his earlier pronouncements about the media, which has steered the proverbial hornet's nest. If there is anything that we can learn from the history of political rhetoric, it is the fact that words properly marshaled and deployed for a proper purpose can move a nation, even nations, to salutary ends. Ideas, when expressed, have consequences. Without doubt, President Duterte is an engaging and powerful weaver of stories. He's able to endear himself to the broader masses of Filipinos with his down-to-earth, folksy manner of speaking. But when he likes to, he can hold up on his word when addressing a gathering of leaders of the different spheres of society. I look at my social media feed, and I'm worried by what I see. President Duterte's anti-drug campaign has so polarized society that to speak out against the spate of killings all over the Philippines following the launch of such campaign appears to be interpreted as tacit support for drug traffickers. Thus, media reporting on these killings are being taken by some quarters to be solid proof that journalists are in the pay of drug lords and that their pockets are being lined with drug money to keep them from exposing the drug syndicates. Contemporary experience has shown how perilous it is for freedom of expression whenever governments deign to vilify media for not towing the official line. In my years as a lawyer working in various ASEAN states to promote free expression, I have seen various shades of repression in the name of law and order, and it is not pretty. Our own Supreme Court has warned against the dangers of official pronouncements, warning media about some imagined violations of the law. In Chavez versus Gonzalez, the High Court struck down mere press statements as acts that constituted content-based prior restraint in a case involving, if you recall, the publication or broadcast of the Hello Garci tape. The court ruled, and I quote, "In resolving this issue, we hold that it is not decisive that the press statements made by then-Secretary Gonzalez were not reduced in or followed up with formal orders or circulars. It is sufficient that the press statements made by Secretary Gonzalez while in the exercise of their official functions. Undoubtedly, Defendant Gonzalez made these statements as Secretary of Justice, while the NTC issued its statements as a regulatory body of media. Thus, the High Court said that the criterion to determine whether the act of an executive official is tantamount to prior restraint is this: any act done, such as speech uttered for and in behalf of government in an official capacity, is covered by the rule on prior restraint. The majority opinion thus proffered an expanded understanding of an act, a legal concept in relation to free speech and free press. Again, I quote, "The concept of an act does not limit itself to acts already converted to a formal order or official circular. Otherwise, the non-formalization of an act into an official order or circular will result in the easy circumvention on the prohibition on prior restraint. The press statements at bar are acts that should be struck down as they constitute impermissible forms of prior restraints on the right to free speech and press." The import of the majority's rationale comes to in stark relief when viewed in relation to this finding, and that the assailed acts of the public officials actually created a chilling effect on the media. In the international legal system, the state is the primary domestic institution charged with the task of ensuring the promotion and protection of human rights. This is because of the following reason. First, it is the states that are parties to human rights instruments. Mr. Speaker, we simply cannot dispense with our obligations under international law with impunity. We have to be consistent whenever we invoke international law, as in the landmark decision of the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling in the South China Sea arbitration. If we want other countries to abide with their international obligations, we should do so as well. Second, as ruled in the early case of Las Palmas, territorial sovereignty, as has already been said, involves the exclusive right to display the activities of a state. The right has a corollary duty, the obligation to protect within the territory the rights of other states, in particular, the right to integrity and inviolability in peace and in war, together with the rights which each state may claim for its nationals in foreign territory. Thus, this obligation under international law includes the prosecution of all extralegal killings, whether or not perpetrated by state agents. The state cannot stand idly by while unidentified gunmen ride as marauding parties in the streets, killing people with impunity. Such gross negligence by the state amounts to supporting impunity and lack of public accountability. Third, it is true that there are now various international mechanisms to hold perpetrators of international crimes responsible for their actions. For the most part, however, it is the institution of the state as a public legal community that plays a lead role in ensuring the demands of public justice and common good are best served within its jurisdiction. This is because the state's law enforcement and prosecutorial arm for protecting and promoting public justice and the common good in the domestic legal order sets it apart from other societal institutions. Only the state is the immediate institution in the domestic sphere entrusted with the legal duty, backed up with the force of arms to protect and promote the rule of law. For instance, in the International Criminal Court, the first permanent international tribunal with jurisdiction to hear individual crimes of gross violations of human rights and humanitarian law, this works only under the principle of complementarity, where the state is given a primary jurisdiction to try these cases, and the ICC only steps in when the concerned state fails to prosecute an international crimes. It is worth noting that we now have a law implementing our obligation as party to the Rome Statute that created the ICC. Imperfect as it is, the Philippine International Humanitarian Law Act, or Republic Act 9851, passed into law in 2010. It is a law that begs to be enforced, as despite its immediate passage 6 years ago, the violations of IHL continue on either side of the fence. In other words, if the very character of the sovereign state is part of the problem, every effort to advance human rights without changing the function and identity of states will lead to failure. This is something that we cannot stand for. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am now ready for interpellation, if there are any.
Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader.
would the gentleman yield to a set of clarificatory questions?
Before I recognize Congressman Atienza, I would like to hear, the chair likes to hear from the Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we extend the privilege hour for another 30 minutes. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Upon motion of the Majority Leader to extend the privilege hour for another 3 minutes,
Thank you.
the motion is, any objection? 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Any objection? The chair hearing none, the motion is approved. Congressman Atienza, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And we would like to congratulate the gentleman from Kabayan for his very scholarly and academic discourse on what is going on in the country. But would he accommodate some clarificatory questions on what we have heard for the past 1 hour and 10 minutes coming from the gentleman?
It would be my honor, Mr. Speaker, to answer interpellations from my colleague in the genuine minority.
Congressman Atienza, you may proceed.
Salamat po. Ang narinig po natin kay Congressman Harry Roque ay mga prinsipyo na dapat sana'y sinusunod sa paggalang sa karapatang pantao. We cannot help but admire and agree with his definitions and dissertation. Ang tanong ko lang po ay, saan po ba talaga nyo tinutumbok ang ating kalagayan ngayon? Do you believe, Congressman Roque, that the present government is not in accord with human rights respect for our people in their current campaign against the drug menace?
Matagal na pong problema itong patayan sa ating lipunan. Sa katunayan po, na-disturb yung aking pribadong buhay nung kinailangan na kami manindigan dun sa mga patayan na nagsimula pa nung rehimeng Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Nung mga panahon pong yun, hiningi na namin na bumuo ng isang tribunal para panagutin po ang presidente noon dahil hindi po naiimbestigahan at hindi napaparusahan ang mga pumapatay sa ating lipunan. Sa katunayan po, bukod pa po doon, nagkaroon din po ng report ang UN Special Rapporteur on Extralegal Killings na nagbigay kumpirmasyon po, panahon pa po ni Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, na may problema po talaga tayo sa paglabag ng karapatang mabuhay dahil marami pong napapatay, hindi po naimbestigahan at hindi napaparusahan ang mga pumapatay. Nagpapatuloy lang po ang problema. Bagamat ang aking sinentro po na ituro sa kanyang kapabayaan ay si Secretary Laila de Lima. Dahil si Secretary Laila de Lima po, bagamat siya ay nagsasabi na dapat imbestigahan itong mga patay na ito, 6 na taon naman po siyang naging Secretary of Justice, 3 taon na naging Commissioner ng CHR, Chairman ng CHR, wala rin pong nangyari doon sa obligasyon Estado na dapat imbestigahan at parusahan ang mga pumapatay sa lipunan.
So sa inyong pananaw, Ginoong Roque, itong administrasyong ito'y hindi naiiba sa mga nakaraan. Would you say that the killings going on now on a daily basis, 10 or 11 Filipinos are killed? Are you saying that the average today is the same that of President Aquino's time? And you mentioned as way back from the time of President Arroyo. Hindi po ba abnormal ito ngayon compared to the past? Or would you say nothing is different? It's all the same.
Well, sang-ayon po sa ABS-CBN, mahigit 300 na po ang napapatay dito sa mga drug-related incidents. At siguro naman po kung ikukumpara sa record ng mga nakaraang administrasyon, nakababahala na po talaga.
Yun ang aking hinihintay na sagot sapagkat isa po ko sa nababagabag dito sa nangyayaring ito. More than 300 Filipinos have been killed on an average of 10. 1 month ago, the new president was installed, and now we have witnessed the killings every day, every night. Primetime news does not contain anymore anything relevant except the killing and continued killing of people. Sa tingin po ba ninyo ito'y normal at ito'y dapat natin sang-ayunan sapagkat sang-ayon tayo sa kampanya laban sa droga? Ako'y naniniwala na wala po namang Pilipino, lalo na po miyembro ng Kamara, na kukontra sa layuning ito. But would you say that killing in violation of basic rights of our people would lead to a beneficial fruit, a beneficial result that will redound to the country's benefits if this is left unabated and uncontrolled by President Duterte?
Well, kaya nga po ako napilitang magsalita dahil ako po'y naaabala na baka tinatanggap na po na ang ating taong bayan na patayan ang solusyon dito sa ating problema ng droga. Hindi po patayan ang solusyon. Ang kinakailangan po nating gawin, itaas ang antas ng kakayahan ng ating kapulisan na kumalap ng ebidensya at mag-imbestiga ng mga kaso na related sa mga droga. Itaas natin ang kakayahan ng ating mga prosecutors para ang kanilang mga kaso ay mapanalo at mapabilis ang proseso sa hukuman. Nang sa ganung paraan, mabilis po ang paglilitis dito sa mga sinususpetsya nating involved sa drugs. Kaya nga po, siguro isa sa dapat nating gawin ay yung batas po ni Congressman Suarez, ng ating bagong minority floor leader, na attrition law, hindi dapat lang po i-apply yon sa mga revenue-raising agencies. Kailangan po siguro gamitin na rin natin yan sa lahat ng sangay ng ating criminal justice system. Dapat po ibaba ang budget kapag ang pulis, ang piskal, ang hukuman ay hindi po naglalabas ng mga conviction dito sa kasong patayan at kaso ng droga.
Ang pamagat po ng inyong privilege speech ay right to life. Tama po ba yun?
Tama po.
Naniniwala po kayo na ang buhay ng bawat nilalang ay pag-aari lamang ng dakilang lumikha at hindi ng anuman at sinumang kapangyarihan sa mundo.
Dahil ako po isang Kristiyano, naniniwala po ako dyan. Pero bukod pa po sa aking paniniwala bilang isang Kristiyano, ang karapatang mabuhay po, ang pinaka-importanting karapatang pantao sa lahat. Dahil kung wala po tayong buhay, wala pong ibig sabihin ang iba pang karapatang pantao gaya ng malayang pananalita at malayang pag-iisip.
Kami po sa Buhay Party List, Mr. Speaker, fully appreciates this particular philosophy and principle of respecting life as something that is most sacred for all of us. Rich, poor, male, female, young, old, maski na may kapansanan ng sino man, ay dapat ay iginagalang ng kapwa. Lalo na ng may kapangyarihan. Nakababahala po talaga ang nangyayari na gabi-gabi ang napapatay o pinapatay ay mga taong suspects daw sa problema ng droga. At lahat po sila ay isa lamang ang bersyon ng kapulisan na sila'y nanlalaban, lumalaban sa kapangyarihan. Would the gentleman from Kabayan believe this particular line that is being given all of us, citizens of this republic, na ang lahat ng napapatay ay mga lumalabang suspects sa droga?
Well,
sincerely, I would like an answer so that I may be able to digest fully the message that we got tonight, which will continue to haunt us and to bother us unless we, members of Congress, take note of what's going on.
Ako naman po'y 25 taon na araw-araw ay nagpupunta ng korte. At marami na po akong pagkakataon na ako po'y nagsampa ng kaso ng murder laban sa mga kapulisan, ang depensa nila nanlaban. Ni minsan po sa mga kasong yan, hindi pinaniwalaan ng hukuman. Dahil makikita naman po yan, base po sa tinatawag na pisikal na ebidensya, kung meron talagang ebidensya na nanlaban ang isang tao, saan tinamaan saan pumasok ang bala sa katawan ng biktima? Anong anggulo ng pagpasok ng bala sa katawan ng biktima? Meron bang gunpowder burn sa kanyang mga kamay? So sa mga kasong nahawakan ko na po, wala pong depensa ng pulis na nanlabang ang kinilala ng ating hukuman.
Siguro magkakaisa po kami ni Congressman Roque na hindi ka panipaniwala. Sabihin, lumaban ang suspect, lalo't-lalo na nakaposas yung kamay sa likod ng kanyang katawan. It is almost impossible to even consider that as an alibi. It is a mere big lie for the authorities to say that a suspect can fight with his hands handcuffed behind him and try to pull the gun of the arresting policeman. Are we together in that impression, Congressman Roque?
Sang-ayon po ako dyan. Kaya nga po ang aking hamon sa kapulisan. Kung sinasabi nila nanlaban, dapat po ipakita nila kung anong ebidensya na nanlabang ang kanilang pinatay.
We fully appreciate that admission and acceptance of that particular point, that what is going on now should bother all the members of Congress. We support President Duterte in his efforts to address the problem of drugs in the nation. We support him in his efforts to fight criminality and put a stop to it. We cannot dream of a economically well-off Philippines unless these problems are addressed by the government. Salamat sa Diyos, meron tayong Pangulo katulad niya na nagbibigay ngayon ng panahon sa problemang ito. Subalit, gaya po ng inyong inilahad sa amin at sa inyong pagtanggap sa aming tinuran na ang sinasabi ng kapulisan ay hindi ka panipaniwala. 100% of their killed suspects are all supposedly grabbing their guns. As a former mayor myself for 9 years, yung mga ganyang klaseng panangatwiran ng alagad ng batas ay hindi po namin tinanggap kailanman. So I cannot see why we should be quiet. If we would want to help the president succeed, then we must speak up on this issue. We appreciate Congressman Roque's research, knowledge, wisdom on reminding all of us. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the gentleman, saan papunta ang ating bansa kung ito'y hindi titigil? Sa inyong nakikita at sa inyong prinsipyo na pinaliwanag sa amin sa loob ng 1 oras at 10 minuto. Saan po tayo pupunta?
Noon pa man, Mr. Speaker, ako po'y naninindigan, lalong-lalo na laban sa extralegal killings. Dahil kung hindi po yan titigil, kung hindi po natin lilitisin at paparusahan ang mga pumapatay sa ating lipunan, baka po ang susunod na biktima ay tayo na. We have a problem with impunity, Mr. Speaker, precisely because we have not brought the fear of the law to the hearts of those who kill, and this is exacerbated by loose statements coming from competent state authorities that the use of extralegal killings may even be preferred instead of utilizing the rule of law. We will have chaos, in other words, Mr. Speaker. The people may decide to take the law into their own hands, and we will have shooting in the streets, absolute mayhem.
Mr. Speaker, that projection is clearly etched in this representation's mind. Alam ko po na wala rin tayong pupuntahang kaayusan at kaunlaran kung itong ginagawa ng ating mga may kapangyarihan ay itutuloy ng wala man lang pasubali na ngayon ay tinatalakay natin dito. Papunta tayo sa isang kultura ng kamatayan, a culture of death, as against what is needed to make the Filipinos enjoy life as God meant us to enjoy life in this blessed country of ours. Kung ito po ipapabayaan natin, papunta po tayo sa kultura ng kamatayan, kung saan magpapatayan tayong magkapwa, mga Pilipino, magkakapatid, at magkakaibigan. We have to put a stop to this. And that's the reason why I'm commending the gentleman from Kabayan, na sinimulan niya ang usaping ito na kailangan natin ipagpatuloy. I'm happy to note that a formal investigation has been proposed by this chamber. And we fully support this investigation so that guilty parties may be pinpointed and Congress can act accordingly. Ang sabi nila, wala raw pupuntahan ng investigasyon. Ang isagot po natin dyan, yun lamang maidimanda yung mga nag-abuso ng kanilang kapangyarihan, maganda na po pupuntahan. Sapagkat kung di tayo aaksyon, nung makalawa, meron pong isang batang-batang Pilipino na nakabangga lamang in a traffic accident. Anong ginawa ng may kapangyarihan? Isinakay sa kanilang mobile unit, kasama po ang 2 pulis at 3 alalay, at pinatay itong Pilipinong ito. Hindi po natin dapat tanggapin yan, sapagkat kayo'y na-aksidente lamang, papatayin kayo dahil doon sa bagay na yon. At nung nakita ko po sa television, yung 2 lalaking binalot ng masking tape. Nang tinanggal ang mga masking tape na nakabalot, ay nakitang mukha, larawan ng isang taong humahabol sa kanyang hiniga. Ang sino mang gumawa niyan, walang puso, walang diwa, at hindi Pilipino. Kaya kailangan nating itatwa. We must deny this type of doings now coming from murderous holders of power. We must remind the President even, kung kinakailangan tayo ay humarap sa kanya at magsabi, Mr. President, you definitely have the support of each and every one of us, but we cannot support what the law authorities are now doing on the ground. Dahil kung hindi po, mauulit ng mauulit yan. Huwag namang mangyari sa inyo, huwag mangyari sa atin, huwag mangyari sa inyong mga anak at inyong pamilya. Na magkaroon lamang ng problema sa lansangan ay hindi na po makauuwi sa inyo sapagkat pinaslang. At hindi lamang pinaslang, kundi pinaslang ng walang puso at walang damdamin. We must fight all of this menace now. To me, the greater menace is not one of drugs, because the drugs problem is now being attended to by the President, but the menace of a lawless society perpetrated by those who are sworn to protect precisely the rights of each and every one. The human rights of every Filipino, yun po ang mas malaking panganib. If we do not act, we might as well close shop because we cannot be called representatives of the people. Kaya uulitin ko po, ang ginawang ito ni Ginoong Roque, na ngayon ay nakatala na sa ating Kongreso, na pinupuna niya ang tama at dapat na paggalang sa karapatang pantao sa kabila ng sinabi ng ating Pangulo dito sa ating sesyong ito, na sinabi niya, human rights can be sacrificed. Sa akin din pong pananaw at sa aking paningin at sa aking damdamin, human rights will have always to be respected if we are to succeed as a sovereign nation. A nation prosperous, blessed by God. Pasalamat tayong lahat. Tayo binigyan ng buhay na dapat ngayon ay ating matutunang mahalagahin at ipagtanggol sa mga bantang ito na hindi natin dapat payagan. Congratulations, Mr. Harry Roque. Ngayon ay nakilala kita mas higit na merong damdamin bilang isang, hindi lang bilang isang politiko, kundi isang politikong may puso't Kristiyanong kaluluwa.
Maraming salamat po.
Hari nawang nakikinig ang lahat ng ating mga kasamahan at tayo magtulong-tulong sa pagbibigay halaga sa iyong sinaliksik na privilege speech na ito. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to the gentleman from Buhay.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Lagman is recognized.
Congressman Lagman is hereby recognized.
Will the distinguished gentleman from Kabayan Party List yield to a few questions?
Certainly, Mr. Speaker, from the learned gentleman from Albay.
You may proceed, Congressman Lagman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the outset, we would like to congratulate the distinguished gentleman from Kabayan Party List for advancing the primacy of human rights. With that vigorous speech on the right to life, can we now be assured that the distinguished gentleman is in favor of House Resolution 61, calling for the immediate congressional investigation of the inordinately rampant judicial killings related to the campaign against the drug menace?
Mr. Speaker, I would ask for time to look or to read this resolution before I can give my concurrence. But in spirit, of course, I will support such a resolution.
Okay. And that resolution, which the distinguished gentleman from Party List Buhay had already endorsed, is principally authored by the Honorable Betty Bagilat Jr. for the information of this chamber. Now, is the speech of the distinguished gentleman from Kabayan Party List an opposition to the reimposition of the death penalty, more particularly the imposition of the death penalty on heinous crimes?
Well, Mr. Speaker, while I consider the imposition of the death penalty as different from the subject matter of my speech on extralegal killings, I do have to state for the record that because I stand for the right to life, I am also against any effort to reintroduce the death penalty into our legal system.
Is the distinguished gentleman aware of House Bill number 001?
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, I am again disturbed by the fact that it is not just House Bill 001 that seeks to reimpose the death penalty, but it appears that quite a number of our colleagues here in the House are of the opinion that the death penalty should be reimposed. By my last count, there are no less than 15 bills that call for the reimposition of the death penalty, Mr. Speaker.
But anyway, House Bill 001 is the first bill, an administration measure calling for the imposition of the death penalty on heinous crimes. Possibly my last question, Your Honor, is the gentleman from Kabayan Party List aware that the Honorable Danilo Suarez is a co-author, a principal co-author of this bill?
I am not aware, Mr. Speaker, if he is a co-author, but I seek comfort in the fact that my colleague in the minority, Congressman Atienza from Buhay Party List, and I are staunch opponents of any effort to reimpose the death penalty.
In any event, the records would show that the Honorable Danilo Suarez is a principal co-author of House Bill 001, imposing the death penalty on heinous crimes. Thank you for the opportunity to interpolate the distinguished gentleman.
It was my pleasure, Mr. Speaker.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the distinguished gentleman from the 2nd District of Pangasinan, Congressman Paul Batawil.
Congressman Batawil is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the gentleman from Kabayan Party List willing to accept a few interpolation from this representation?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, let me congratulate the gentleman from Kabayan Party List of his very informative, privileged speech, which really touched the very core of a very sensitive issue these days, the alleged summary killings of some suspected drug lords and peddlers. May I ask the gentleman from the Kabayan Party List if he's aware of the various advocacies in the Philippine National Police, particularly on the upholding of human rights?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I am definitely aware. In fact, before I joined this August body, I was connected with the UP Law Center, and it was our task to disseminate human rights to members of the Philippine National Police.
To your knowledge, distinguished gentleman from Kabayan Party List, to what extent the indoctrination of human rights among our policemen or the PNP institution as a whole, to what extent was it internalized or disseminated or indoctrinated?
Well, Mr. Speaker, in truth and in fact, that is why I opted to resign one of the reasons why I opted to end my career as an academic, because I felt that there are times when you, even if you try your best to disseminate the fundamental course of human rights, particularly to state agents, they don't seem to internalize these principles in their regular daily lives and in their professional capacity.
Thank you for that feedback, Mr. Speaker. It appears that what we have been doing in the Philippine National Police, particularly on the indoctrination of human rights, is an exercise in futility. As you have said, you resigned as a result thereof. And what do you recommend so that the human rights advocacy will be truly internalized and truly be followed to the letter?
Well, that's one of the reasons, Your Honor, why I decided to run for this current position in Congress. I want to use, Mr. Speaker, the power of the purse to hold state agents responsible whenever they fail to protect and promote human rights. It's high time, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, that the police, the judiciary, the National Prosecution Service should be asked about their performance in the budget hearings, because on the basis of what I have witnessed as an academic observing budget hearings in the past, they have not been held accountable for their lapses in contributing to this culture of impunity that we now have. And that is one of the promises that I made to those that elected the Kabayan Party List, a promise that we will use the power of the purse to implement, protect, and promote human rights.
It's a sad thing to note, Mr. Speaker, that our gentleman from Kabayan Party List would use the power of the purse to transform an institution from what he perceived to be a human rights violator or not in conformity with the human rights to what we want them to be. No? Could there be a more effective means of encouraging or transforming the PNP institution to be more human rights advocates, no, in its true sense, rather than using the power of the purse?
Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned in my speech, probably the best means to deal with this problem of impunity is to effectively investigate, prosecute, and punish the perpetrators of extralegal killings, because it is only when these killers are put behind bars that we can restore faith in the rule of law. It is only when we imprison these killers that we can bring back the fear of the law into the hearts and minds of these criminals.
On that note, Mr. Speaker, I agree fully with our distinguished gentleman from the Kabayan Party List. I fully agree with that approach and with that move to investigate who are those violators of the human rights. Because to my knowledge, I've been a regional director myself. I have been a city director in Cotabato City during those turbulent times, and even now, situation has not remarkably improved. Problems persist. The police is faced with an enormous task of peacekeeping, at the same time observing human rights. And I'm aware of the institution's initiative of institutionalizing human rights as a way of life among our policemen. In fact, it might interest you to know that the regional headquarters, down to the provincial headquarters, down to the municipal headquarters, supervised by the central headquarters in Camp Crame, have the respective human rights offices, assigned human rights officers, to ensure that every member, policeman and policewoman, would uphold human rights and abide by the police operational procedure, which I'm showing it to you right now. This police operational procedure is the Bible of the policeman. in their operations, in the implementation of laws and ordinances. This is the rules of engagement of every policeman. And I'm aware of the fact that this was introduced, this was indoctrinated many times over among our policemen. But sad to note that indeed there are still rooms for improvement. But it does not mean to say that the Philippine National Police as an institution is generally a human rights violator. No? You're right when you said that let's start investigating among those who are deviating from the police operational procedure and the human rights principles. And along that line, I will agree with you, Mr. Distinguished gentleman from Kabayan Party List.
Mr. Speaker, if you please, it is also my belief that the Philippine National Police as an institution would want to promote and protect human rights, as in fact, it probably is the most important state actor that is obligated under our treaty obligations to protect and promote these rights. When I said, though, that I was personally, probably the word is dismayed by my experience of having disseminated human rights to literally thousands and thousands of policemen, and seemingly it has not made any impact, it is because despite the many lectures I have given to the PNP, I still have to prosecute policemen for the most serious violations of human rights, including the Binayog torture case involving the case of torture, which was broadcasted to the whole world by international news media. But I agree, Mr. Speaker, with our colleague from Pangasinan that in fact, as an institution, the PNP has no choice because we have a treaty obligation that the state itself must take steps to protect and promote human rights, including, among others, to dissemination. Although I would hope that in order to actually effectively deal with this malaise, that we also start investigating, prosecuting, and punishing these killers. Reiterating again the statistics that Senator De Lima admitted when she was still Secretary of Justice, that we only have a conviction rate of 1% for extralegal killings.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, I would like to encourage our colleague from the Kabayan Party List to be more patient and be more understanding with the PNP institution, and not to resign from, not to give up his advocacy of nurturing this institution, which needed so much help from every one of us, especially human rights advocates like our colleague from Kabayan Party List. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Certainly, Mr. Speaker, and that is why I mentioned earlier, although I was frustrated when I was acting in my capacity as a disseminator, I have decided to utilize this new role that I have found for myself as a member of this august body to further protect and promote human rights. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, there being no other of our colleagues who wish to interpellate our esteemed colleague, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Roque to the Committee on Rules. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
On motion of the distinguished Majority Leader, the speech of the gentleman from the party list, Kabayan, is hereby ordered or directed to be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we suspend the privilege hour. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? There being none, the motion to suspend the privilege hour is hereby granted.
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we adjourn till tomorrow, August 2, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? Hearing none, the session is suspended to resume is adjourned to resume tomorrow, August 2nd, 2016.